Hello and welcome to Miskatonic University Radio, a podcast exploring fantasy flight games as Arkham Horror the card game. I'm Dane.
I'm Dan.
I'm Ben.
And today, like we said before, we're going to be talking about investigators. Today we're making an investigator tier list of all the investigators to date except for the parallel investigators. So some of those we haven't quite had a lot of experience with yet and didn't feel like we would be putting them here. Maybe that'll be a future episode at some point. But, I mean, we've seen so many people kind of contribute their thoughts about which investigators are best, which investigators need the most help, and we just kind of wanted to give our thoughts too.
It's definitely something we've been talking about doing for a while. It just seems like a fun thing to do. And I think, as usual, when we're the same kind of perspective that we take when we're looking at player cards, we're coming at this from a perspective of playing, 3 or 4 player mode on hard or maybe standard, and trying to get good resolutions to all the scenarios in a campaign and get as much victory as possible, avoid disasters, and try to max out any type of like variable success push your luck scenario like Wages of Sin or Boundary Beyond. Which means you have to play efficiently, you have to kind of like focus on the objective. So we're kind of placing the investigators in tier lists based on how much they can contribute to playing that way. So there might be like some characters that are very good in solo that we might put them at a lower tier just because they are not as good in this type of scenario.
Yeah, and we're not actually talking about solo either. The other thing I do want to mention is that like it's also for investigators who can still do well given like really tough like pulls from the chaos bag, or if they don't find certain pieces of gear, that they can still do well, like persevere beyond what other investigators might be doing. So
yeah, like pretty much any investigator can do some cool stuff if you build a really good deck for them and you get lucky and you're in the right situation. But what makes an investigator go in one of the really high tiers is that they're not super dependent on luck. You have a lot of flexibility when you're handling different challenges. They're very like reliable and consistent, as well as being very efficient and powerful. And what makes someone go down towards a lower tier is maybe more that like if you don't get one card in your hand at the beginning of the game, you're kind of screwed. If you run up against one particular type of encounter card, you're kind of screwed, etc., things like that.
Or engine to get set up, right?
Or just kind of like struggling to successfully get clues or handle enemies, or do equivalently useful things at the kind of rate that you need to do to finish a scenario on time.
Yeah. So which class are we starting with?
I think we're just doing them all.
I have them in alphabetical order, Dane.
That seems good.
Okay.
And we should mention, I think we're going to strictly limit ourselves to 2 minutes of discussion per investigator because there are 48 of them, so this is already going to take a long time. And we were going to give ourselves a limited number of like bonus round activations where if there's a particular investigator that we really disagree on, we would allow ourselves 1 extra minute to discuss it, but we can only use that power. Ben has 3 times here. I was going to suggest like maybe 6 times. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah. Maybe 1 for each class, but we don't have to use it for each class. We could just kind of use 5.
Sure. Well, let's count Lola as a class and pick 6 then. She's
right.
Not a guardian, seeker, rogue, mystic, or survivor.
I mean, she's basically an encounter guard. No, that's just some shade thrown Lola's way.
Listen, guys, we're gonna have a whole 2 minutes to make fun of Lola, but it's we're gonna save it for the end. It's gonna be the mid tier list pick me up.
And well, speaking of that, I assume we'll probably want to take a break like about halfway through as well. So, I don't know. Anything else we have to figure out before we get started, or should we just jump right in?
Classic tiers: S, A, B, C, D, F. No, there's no D. Just kidding.
No,
S,
no
A, B,
D.
C, D,
Just 5. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Let's get to it.
So Agnes Baker. Let me hit my reset timer and go. Agnes, Mystic,
What is the last time you
Corset.
played?
So with Agnes, you get the 5-will Mystic, so you can play a good stuff Mystic deck. You also have a very powerful ability for managing enemies by being able to ping them, which is great. And you get the Survivor card pool 0 to 2, which is pretty cool. Her weakness is kind of bad though.
Yeah, it's a little rough. I mean, she's very powerful. Her pinging ability is very strong. Continues to be strong.
I I kind of don't think that there are any other mystics that are strictly better than her, except maybe you could talk me into like Gloria in certain types of groups and scenarios. So, and I think mystics in general are pretty good. So I would maybe say like A-ish. Dane, are you muted? Maybe.
Yeah, sorry. So when we're talking about S tier, we're talking about like the best, the cream of the crop, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think Agnes, I've heard at least from folks who play a lot more expert than I do, that Agnes is actually really good and expert because of the fact that she has that ping. So that's another reason that she's just really, really solid.
Yeah,
I feel like she's really reliable.
I think for expert she could be an S. I think if her weakness was less bad, maybe she would just barely make it into
Yeah.
S. But
Yeah.
as it is, I feel like she's almost maybe like kind of right at the border. What do you think, Ben? You haven't
I'd
said
say
much.
so, yeah.
I was leaning towards A tier. She's definitely one of the stronger mystics. Just her card pool, having Survivor as her secondary class is great. That gives her a lot of extra
Like
support
Peter Sylvester.
yeah, it gives her Peter for soak.
She can do a little bit of evading. You can do weird stuff with her, like playing the ornate bow if you really want to. If you're listening to this and you haven't played mystics much and you're skeptical of how good they are, try like a reg Agnes deck and just ping the hell out of everything. You will. It is very, very good.
Oh yeah, you've got everything you need in the core set basically.
So
Except the
are we settled on A then? Because we're about out of time.
let's
I think
do
we're
it.
gonna have to settle on A because
Great.
we're out of time. All right. Next up is Akachi.
So another 5-will mystic.
Yeah.
From Carcosa. For
Pretty
abilities, she gets extra charges on stuff, so she can make more set of assets.
Yeah, better Shriveler than most, better Azure Flame than most. She also has a pretty balanced health and sanity, right?
her like compared to Agnes, she has I think a much worse ability, but also a pretty much nothing weakness kind of.
Yeah.
But she also has a smaller card pool. Like I think she's kind of just like a kind of like a middle of the road mystic maybe, or at least like a middle of the road of the ones that have 5 willpower maybe.
Yeah, I might say like she's kind of upper half of the mystics somewhere. I'd say like definitely better than most of the not the the 4 will investigators, right? Because she's got that 5. She also has weird things like she can take the hallowed mirror, and she can take a couple other things that kind of I think she's a cult level 0 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's like very straightforward to play. She's very simple. You know, it's easy to deck build for her because like, oh, I build assets, I have charges, and you can put a couple fun mystic cards in there. I don't think she can get to the zany heights of a lot of other characters. So I was leaning towards like throwing her in B.
The extra charges was a lot better before we had like Winds of Power and Recharge level 4 and a bunch of other stuff. Right. Yeah, B sounds right to me, but that's I want to put all of the under 5 will mystics in C probably, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to agree with that. But let's put her in B for now if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, she's probably a pretty good B plus, A minus, or something like that for me.
I think we're starting to get a sense of how the mystics are going to be spaced out among these tiers. I think having placed these two.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Amanda Sharp.
Sharp.
Seeker has 2 in every stat.
Dane, you didn't see me play my awesome Melteroni Madness combat Amanda or combat hybrid Amanda that we did in Circle Undone.
Was it filmed? I wish it was filmed because it was pretty nuts.
It was pretty gross, but it you know, I mean, regular Amanda's pretty gross too. Amanda's really good. She has one of the best abilities in the game. Her weakness is manageable. She has secret card pool plus fun extras like Enraptured and stuff.
Right.
She's very good.
She's very good. She has a higher
seeker to take standalone because she can take deduction level 2s and put them under her and get most clues than any other seeker can in a single turn. So
she's the only seeker where like you don't go straight for archaic glyphs, kind of.
Yeah, she's got insane cycling, insane draw, very good at getting clues, and she can even protect herself if you want. You can throw some cards and protect yourself, or in multiplayer you can go hard clues and go crazy. So
she's also extremely fun to play. Maybe the most fun investigator to play for me, but she is, I would say, a little bit challenging if you are new to the game. But I mean, we're dancing around it, but she's got to be an S tier, right? Like
I mean,
we've debated whether she should just be like heavily tabooed or banned.
Yeah. What it's basically going to come down to is that the S color should have been just yellow, right? Because
S is
this
for
is where a
seeker. That's
lot
how
of
it
these
goes.
secrets are
Yeah.
going to be. Yeah, S for secret.
It's also for Survivor though, so
Well, that seems like a mistake.
All right, we
Yeah,
got 20,
yeah.
20 seconds left on this one. Dan, how would you balance Amanda? Quick, 15 seconds, go.
Why would you do that? Why would you? That would be just like assassinating a really cool person that everyone likes. I mean, no, I don't know. I mean, make her
Make a
stats
weakness
like
force or something? I don't know.
ones or something, or
Yeah.
make skill cards worse, like ban deduction level 2 and stuff. Like it would take more than just changing her investigator card.
All right.
Fair. That's it.
Let's talk about Bob Jenkins.
Hey.
BJ.
So I haven't played with Bob, but I know that you two have some experience with dealings.
Yeah,
with Bob.
I played with him. He was really good at buying stuff for other people, and he occasionally got some clues.
Bob is
did he do anything else?
in my heart, in my affection, Bob is S tier. In Arkham Horror, the card game, I think Bob. I would put Bob in like C, and that's
I was leaning
that's
towards
probably
C.
fair.
If we had a D, probably put him in D.
He is the only
Yeah.
survivor that has like 4 base intellect. It's just he doesn't
Yeah.
have access to too much to help him like really leverage that.
Yeah.
I mean, he has the rogue
He has
card
Lola,
pool,
right?
which helps him get money, and yeah, he can get Lola and stuff. So like I was able to get some clues, but like compared to like Monterey, who I was playing with, it was like there was nothing. This Monterey
He
just
also can't really
ran on the
fend for
board,
himself, right?
got clues. His agility's like
He's got
kind of
threes.
and his
Yeah.
strength's kind of so he's got to kind of work to pump those up.
He has. I mean, it's nice that he does have 4 intellect, but he still has that kind of like standard survivor, absolutely garbage stat line that we all know and love. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have the worst one of those because he does have the 4 in, but it's still not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun playing him, but I didn't feel like I was actively contributing to the group as much. I was like buying people items and occasionally playing all of my useless items, and that was fun. But
You didn't go full on expensive nonsense item like the fan and the clock and
what I
all
would
the
do.
crazy stuff.
I
You
think-
should have been like buying those and
Yeah.
giving them to everybody.
I think I did near the end, but like didn't draw them or whatever. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely fun to play, but I don't think he stacks up to a lot of other investigators.
We should spell survivor with a C from now on because that's where they're all gonna go straight to the C tier.
That's probably mostly true. But yeah,
All right.
I think that's pretty reasonable for him.
Alrighty, then let's go on to Calvin.
So Calvin Raid, I don't have a lot of experience with, like, other than some experience a few months ago. And from what I played of him, he was actually pretty strong. His issue was that he's just limited to 3 actions. Like, some guardians and people like Tony, for example, can take advantage of just having innate actions, more actions, or like Zoe has the engage, might have her cross out to deal some murder, ping some things with B-Cop. Calvin can't do any of those things. He can load up the bag with blesses with that new card that you can ping yourself for damage and horror, and that's kind of insane. But other than sort of like utility tanky, he can't really be like the primary like guardian.
Yeah, like forget for a minute that you have to like forget that he's bad at the beginning because you have to get trauma on him before he can do stuff. Just imagine he always had 5s and everything. That makes him like pretty good and certainly good in like expert, but he doesn't have a lot of efficiency gains. He can't spam deduction or archaic glyphs. He can't do vicious blow and beat cop to ping stuff all the time.
Right.
Like he's basically, even in the best case scenario, he's a guy with high stats and not a lot of cards in his card pool that are good.
He has a lot of solid support cards. He has like ward level 2s, so he can deal with himself.
He's not bad to have he's not bad to have in a 4-player game because the other 3 people can kind of take care of him when he's still weak. And once he gets his stats really high, he's like kind of flexible and he can kind of do whatever. So like I could see putting him in B, but I probably wouldn't put him any higher than that. What do you think, Ben?
I was somewhere between B or A. I see him like really pop off near the end of every game, but he does have to ramp up. Later in the campaign, maybe he's built up some trauma, so there's not much build up. But yeah, the action compression is usually the problem. Like, he usually can pass tests, but he usually only has those 3 actions. There's some survivor cards that help him, but it doesn't compare to like someone with combat cards or more straightforward secret cards.
All that kind of stuff.
I think an expert or something we'd probably put him higher, maybe.
And we are out of time, so B final answer.
Yeah,
Sounds
I think
good.
that's pretty solid. Probably like a B- is what I would have in my mind. My mind's eye.
Dane, there's no plus or minuses. This is a strict 5-letter system.
That's it.
Yeah.
This is the Dane inside the brain.
Who's our next investigator?
Carolyn.
Carolyn Fern.
Carolyn Fern.
Kind of
And
kind
we're
of a hard
talking
one to place.
not book one, right?
Yeah,
we're talking
we're
the legit
talking
Carolyn.
we're talking the regular version for all these, except I guess Gloria, who doesn't
I
have
mean,
the regular version yet.
I would include either one. Like you can pick whichever one you think is better. Like give them access to both of those options. I don't know if it matters a whole lot.
I'm fine with that too. A book Carolyn's honestly
anyway,
trash. So regular
yeah.
Carolyn.
Is the timer
Book
going?
Carolyn F tier.
Oh, it's not. Oh no. I'm
So,
taking 30 seconds away.
Carolyn is. I think like if you're not in like a 4-player game, I just wouldn't play Carolyn at all. But if you're in a 4-player game in a scenario where there's lots of random horror flying around, and the other people in your group are willing to kind of like play around your deck and like put in ways to take horror so that you can heal them and give them money, and if you're still willing to like be picking up clues a lot of the time anyway, I think Carolyn can be like pretty good. But that's a lot of conditions.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't put her in A. I would put her in like I guess she's better than Bob, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
would
was
say
leaning
B
towards
because
B.
She just got a whole bunch of new tools in the new set that I still haven't tried yet, but I'm really eager to try with her. All the new like gang up and stuff like that she can take. I think she's the like primary candidate for that kind of thing.
She has
a lot of
great
card pool.
She has a lot of good cards and some fun splash, but I think she has. It's hard for her. A lot of her stuff that she wants to play is like assets, which gives her a lot of setup time, and her abilities are all about like horror healing, and she provides money to the rest of the team, which is great. And she can get clues, but she's not as efficient at getting clues as other people. And the support can be helpful and it can be fun, and it can let other people kind of accelerate. But her by herself, I'd put it like B.
Yeah, I think notably she has like some like super synergies with like Agnes and maybe Daniela, so she can like pull all their horror and damage off.
I'm kind of starting to wish we had another tier. I wish we had like a D tier because I would like put Bob and D and Carolyn and C maybe. But yeah, B seems fine. Does that work for you guys?
I guess I technically can add a tier, but that's a lot of work. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Daisy.
Daisy Walker.
Walker.
How do you feel about Daisy, Dan?
Daisy is one of my favorite investigators. I think that she is very, very strong. She's a 5-int seeker with a great off class that includes the best card in the game, Ward 2. Yep. She has a great ability that was already pretty good until they randomly decided to upgrade Old Book of Lore and print an ally that is literally perfect for Daisy. And Daisy's really, really good. Like whenever we talk about the really good seekers like Mandy and Amanda, Dane's always like they should ban them. I'm like, do you also want to ban Daisy? Because Daisy's just as good, basically. And
but Daisy's
the most underrated key on the keyboard. That's what I'm saying. Because she's one of like she basically is as overpowered as Mandy and Amanda.
Yeah. The fact that she has Mystic card off classes is so fantastic for her. And like Old Book of Lore obviously is the thing. It's just the nuts, and nobody else can boast like that they can do it as well. So like maybe Mandy, but like
her weakness is annoying, but you can kind of deal with it. Ben, have you played Daisy?
I mean,
what are your Daisy thoughts?
Yeah, I played Daisy. Played it recently with Harrison actually, and she's definitely very good. Do you think like at maximum power with like compared to Amanda and Mandy, she's probably up there? But what about like earlier on? Doesn't she need like a little bit more ramp up than those two, like in terms of getting experience to get her Old Book of Lore, to get her librarian and stuff?
She's got a 5 on her card in the place where you want to see a 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really think so because Mandy like needs to get Mr. Rook out and to pay 8 XP for 2 copies of Mr. Rook. Amanda needs a bunch of stuff. I think Daisy, if anything, might have a quicker ramp up than those. Like the curve looks different. We should mention
research librarian to pull it from her deck if she doesn't get it opening yet. Like
the 5 health is really bad. Like she can play Deny Existence, which usually will keep you safe, but I've definitely had that not be enough a couple of times. But I still think she belongs in S tier.
Yeah, I would say so too. Like denies and wards, you're fine.
I'm fine with it. Time is up, so time to move on to Daniela. S tier for Daisy.
Daniela's an interesting one. Ben, you have played Daniela pretty recently. What tier would you put her in?
I definitely like enjoyed playing her, but she was like very awkward early campaign, because she doesn't have access to like really very many good weapons. She does have access to lots of soak stuff, but and by the end of the game when I had what did I have? I had whatever dumb new broken weapon she had access to. And
Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer, yeah.
The less overpowered hammer.
Yeah, the she's got pretty good. Yeah, she got going well at the end there, but I don't know. I don't think she is as strong as like a lot of the other fighters that can just have access to guardian cards that are straightforward as stab
She
stuff.
she seems
Um,
like, and this is not just like a backhanded compliment. She seems like an interesting challenge to play because
yeah,
she does have a weird card pool and kind of a weird playing style. But she seems like she can be good, but she's maybe kind of difficult. Yeah, I don't think she belongs in like the top tier of like really really good fighters. I'm not sure if she belongs in the kind of like second tier either, but she's like maybe in like the second or the kind of third tier. So like maybe
Yeah,
like probably not A, but maybe probably B
B.
maybe.
yeah.
Probably BB. Yeah,
I
is
was
what I
thinking
think.
I was thinking B. I mean, she does do her job. It's just that she has some ramp up, and her card pool is like kind of weird. But
I guess one thing that we should have noted is that we're not really doing like the whole like left is better. It's just kind of like whoever's in this tier is just in this tier.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
not
So he's
saying
not worse than Calvin by any means.
we
yeah,
got
we're
two.
not
We
ranking
got
everything
Just
as
sort of
2 minutes per
yeah,
investigator. We don't have time to debate if they're
yeah.
the third
yeah.
best in B or the fifth best in B or whatever.
So everyone's cool with Danielle and B though, right?
I think so.
Uh,
Yeah, I think she's
yeah.
got some interesting cards, but it's a little tough to get her set up as opposed to like a guardian who could just take a big hammer and smash things.
All
She
right.
needs some soak.
Sounds like we're happy with that. So let's move on to Dexter Drake.
Dexter Drake.
Hey,
Uh,
he's
Dexter's
great.
pretty cool. I know Ben and I have both played Dexter a fair amount. I'm not sure if you've
Yeah, me
ever.
too.
Yeah, you played him. I
Yeah.
think that
Oh yeah.
like I would say he's better than Akachi.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
I feel like he's probably worse than Agnes, but
Yes.
I don't know if that's like 100% true. What do you guys think?
He has 5 will, right?
He does have high
Yes.
will and a pretty good
He
off
is
class
Yeah, his off class is
and
pretty
his
good,
fantastic ability.
and a
and
weakness that's less bad than Agnes's.
Right.
I don't remember what his weakness is. Oh, it's the thing
Yes,
doesn't
it's
Yeah.
enhance.
SET.
Yeah,
SET.
SET. It's just like 2 actions to get rid of. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would put him in A. I think he's got the high willpower. He's got a lot of flexibility with his ability, and his off class lets him get money to do some rogue nonsense while powering up his mystic stuff. So yeah, I would put him in
He,
B.
Yeah.
Or A,
the
sorry. I
thing
put
is
him in
like
A.
I feel like a kind of like standard reg mystic just needs enough setup that it's hard to put them in A unless they have like a really good ability like Agnes or maybe like Gloria or somebody who we'll talk about later. I feel like I would lean towards B, but I don't think it's crazy to put him in A. Dane, what do you think?
I think that's probably valid, but I think in my experience he's pretty much as good as Agnes. Some mystics can struggle with like dealing with their own doom assets like Renfield and things
The
like that.
pinging is so good though.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Well, yeah, like Agnes has that ability, right?
Yeah.
She can like take damage on Renfield pretty easily. She can use that one asset from the course that I can't remember the name to kill her things. Dexter can just do that. Like he doesn't need another card to deal with Renfield when he gets too scary. He doesn't. There's that like constant
I guess
reliability.
the
And
fact
I
that
think
he's
that's
like
really solid.
canonically David Renfield's best friend is enough to maybe nudge him into the A tier. And we have a ton of people in B and not enough in A so far. So
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
he's
You guys like A? Put him in an A.
seems fine. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Diana.
I think people are going to be upset about where we put Diana, but I don't think that where we're gonna put her is wrong by our kind of experience.
I would if we
So
had a D tier, I would put her in D tier
for Diana.
for Diana
Uh,
because that's her name.
I mean, she definitely can be strong, but she requires a lot of ramp up. Her cancel
Yeah.
effects can be good. That sometimes it's hard to get enough of those in your deck to justify them. She could kind of
you
be an
end up-
okay guardian. I don't know.
You kind of just end up canceling a lot of things that don't actually need to be canceled, and you're just kind of treading water. And it just
Again,
like
it's
scaling
hard.
up to 6 will
Yeah.
is nice, but starting with 5 will is so much better, right? Like
Yeah.
who I just yeah, and her off class is okay, I guess. Like having blue cards is kind of cool, but
Yeah, upgraded recaps aren't bad, right? Like, I think the thing with Diana, and I've heard weird things from expert players who really love Diana and say that she's really, really good in that tier. But like for hard and standard and stuff like that, like starting with a cancel in your hand is really cool. Like it's really reliable in that like you kind of are at 2 at the baseline, but still like you'd rather just be at 5, right? Like I don't need to. You don't need to do the work. but
Yeah,
I would probably say she's a C. I wouldn't definitely put her in F.
definitely. Because she's
uh,
like,
yeah.
I think Akachi is better than her most of the time, probably, right? And
There are
Akachi
some
isn't great either,
scenarios.
but
Yeah, there are some scenarios that you just have to hit the ground running, right? Like we're talking like the hardest scenarios in the game, and I don't know if she'd be good in those scenarios, honestly. Like
because
I don't
even a
know if
typical, even
she's
like
good enough.
Agnes and Dexter need more setup time than most other classes.
Yeah,
Like she needs that, plus also she needs to get her will up from a 1 to a 6. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That said, the times that I play Diana, she's super fun.
Ben, would you agree? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna agree with C. I think like a lot of the investigators we put in C or B, they're very fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware. So I already put the C on the stream
Yeah.
and put her C on the column.
Yeah.
So she's fun to play, but has a little bit too much ramp up. Yeah. So Finn.
Finn Edwards.
Finn Edwards.
Bootlegger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Finn's extremely fun to play. He has one of the most hilarious weaknesses in the game, I would say, because it's one of the only weaknesses that can single-handedly wreck the entire scenario for everybody, which is great.
Sometimes it doesn't do anything.
I almost think of Finn as being better in smaller groups, like a 2 or 3 player is maybe where he kind of shines. I mean, that's not that he's bad in 4 player, but just like his kind of sweet spot. I don't know. What do you guys think about Finn?
Finn's thing is that the reason I like Finn a lot is because he's really versatile. Like he can do a lot of things. I've played him in solo and he's really fun and really good. I played him in 2 player and he can kind of like ride the line because he can defend himself really well. He's even got like a gun in case you need to like dispatch something.
Hey, I got this
for whatever
gun.
reason.
Yeah.
He's got this tiny little gun, but like
doesn't use it very much. But
he only has like 5 secret cards, and we're gonna be talking about like Trish and Monty and everybody down the line. But he has a lot of cards that came out recently that really helped him. Like the 25 automatic is really really cool and fun with him. There's that new asset blur that came out that like gives him basically just an extra action on his turn.
Ben, do you have Finn thoughts?
Yeah, I think Finn is good. I kind of agree on slightly lower player counts where he needs to function as like clue getter and evader. Definitely very strong. 3 or 4 player maybe a little bit less good, but he can also focus very hard on getting clues. He can do okay at combat, and he's basically, you can always throw a couple cards in there to help him do agility stuff and like get benefits like pickpocketing or whatever as like a bonus action, and that can be pretty useful. So I was leaning towards putting him like in A, but B would be okay too.
I was leaning towards B. I don't totally hate putting him in A, but B sounds a little bit more.
I was leaning towards B too.
Okay.
Right.
The other thing, the reason for B also is that he cannot take level 5 from cards.
Oh yeah.
Or level 4.
That is really funny.
That's
Yeah.
It made me cry.
Yeah, I think at the end, if we have way too many people in B, we might have to do a little bit of redistributing at the end anyway. So we'll see how things shake out.
There's no time for that, Dan.
I think
to Gloria. It's time for Gloria.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Time for Gloria, everybody.
Gloria, so another 5-will mystic with potentially a very powerful ability, but an ability that is kind of hard to evaluate and compare to other things.
Gloria
Ben,
is
Gloria. What do you think?
She's incredibly good. Amazing.
Really
Completely neuters the encounter deck.
Completely destroys it.
In 4 player, completely neuters it.
Yep.
At the cost of spending a lot of your deck and a lot of your time managing it, right?
Yeah, that player in chat has it.
But
she is like the apotheosis of the like seeker of like the ward seeker, right? Like she's like
the thing is, if you can she can almost completely turn off the encounter deck, which gives extra actions to everybody for the entire game. I played her through Return to Circle Undone, and she made it so there were like 1 or 2 times where she didn't have charges for scrying or whatever. It was a little bit. It was like, oh man, we actually have to draw encounter cards that do stuff to us. That's weird. The rest of the time, we just ignore them, and it's amazing.
That was not quite my experience when I played her with Dane. Now, granted, my deck maybe could have been better, and also we were in 2 player, which is maybe different, and it was hard mode Circle Undone. But I feel like she makes the encounter deck completely trivial is a little bit of an overstatement. Is that
if she fails to get set up, which I think is like, that can happen to anybody, but if you have six or so cards that let you manipulate the encounter deck, you're probably gonna always have one going, just like Guardians of Weapons.
So we have like 30 seconds left. I think the only question is A or S tier, right?
Yeah.
I think I would.
There were times I've played with her, honestly, where it's just like Ben said, completely new to the encounter deck. It's like when I don't play with her blind because I actually want to play the scenario. Like I want to like feel the experience, right? Because like if you just play with Gloria, she just destroys that.
I've only played with her
So,
once and
like-
not under optimal conditions. So for me, it's like either A or S. It sounds like you guys are both thinking S. Is that right? That's fine with me.
I might lean towards
she
S.
is Mystic with S. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me if we want to put her in S.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and as
Harvey.
Batboy mentioned, we still don't have her signatures here either.
That's
Anyway,
true.
Yeah. We can revisit it.
Harvey's another interesting one because on
So-
paper, if you don't look at his weakness, he's a very powerful seeker, but his weakness is just going to straight up murder him like all the time,
I
right?
don't want to talk about Harvey.
He has to
Can
have
we
a
put
way
him
to
in
deal with
Skids
his.
on?
He has a way to deal with his weakness. Either somebody else has to support him. There's not too many options actually in Seeker, right? Other than like allies to soak damage, and that takes up actions that he would otherwise use doing ridiculous hand cycling stuff.
If you if you just gave him like any of the basic weaknesses as his signature weakness, I think he would be an easy S tier guy. I don't think he can be an S tier with his weakness as it is.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a little too much.
And
he
can
has
he even be an A? I feel like
still-
probably.
He's still a seeker with 5 in.
He's still
right?
he's still a secret 5 in, right?
I
Like
really don't want to play him in A.
But
I had the
like,
worst
like, you could-
experience with
and
Harvey.
and very good card draw.
like you can just
Yeah.
keep your hand really light and have a bunch of allies that you kill off to take damage from him or something.
I mean that
and
takes
it-
actions though. That hurts
Yeah.
his ability. His the fact that he draws extra cards. If he has to spend actions to counter drawing those cards.
That's
I,
the thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think that's still he can play archaic glyphs. He's still better than like more than 2/3 of the characters in the game probably.
Yeah. I'd put him in B, would be my vote,
Really?
because I don't like Harvey at all. My
So you're-
experience playing it was
you're-
miserable.
you're
Compared to other
saying-
Seekers, anyway.
You're saying he's like on average as good as like Akachi or like Carolyn or Daniela?
I don't want to play him.
I don't either.
I can
but
I can refer to you all on
Yeah.
this one. I
But
just
you
I
don't want to
like
play any
Harvey.
Seeker, Dane. You just hate Seekers.
That's not true.
Well,
I like it.
okay, so I'm thinking A. Dane is thinking B. Ben, what about you?
I think I was leaning towards
B,
A.
B's pretty crowded already.
I also
Fine.
we're out of time. I also don't want to play him ever because he's
Yep,
not
same.
very interesting. But he's
Put him in B.
still
Put him in B.
he's still
Put him
he's
in
still
B.
a seeker. He
No.
has 5 in. His weakness is
Yeah.
bad, but his signature is good, and he has the
time
secret
is up. Time is up. We gotta go.
All right. Who's next? Jacqueline.
Jackie. Hey.
Jacqueline, fine. Another 5-will mystic. So that points to like somewhere in A or B, I think, right?
Yeah. Essentially,
Or
yeah.
unless we think her ability is so good it competes with Gloria's, which I don't think it does.
Her ability's all right.
I think she's yeah.
I've found a lot of my experience may be biased, but when I play her or have played with her, I've drawn her weakness very early and then somehow not drawn the Elder Sign for long periods of time, and then it's like, oh, it's like she doesn't have an ability. It's like she doesn't have an ability, and she's just a 5-wall mystic with just the mystic card pool.
Her ability seems so great, but the one time I've seen somebody play her was Ben at Arkham Knights, and it was hilariously it just didn't do anything.
I mean, her signature.
I think she's
Yeah.
really good.
Her signature lets her use her ability twice, which is very powerful. She can scale off of cards that give extra token draws as well. But I think she's kind of asset reliant, maybe. I don't know. I guess that's just her
I
starter
mean,
deck.
all mystics are, right?
Do we think that she's like as good as Agnes and Dexter, or more like Akachi level in terms of power?
I was thinking more Kachi level.
I
Yeah,
think the thing that would put me there is because she doesn't have like an off class. She's
yeah,
just
exactly.
Mystic cards, and none of the Mystic cards are bad. Mystic cards are totally fine, totally solid. But just like she doesn't get that extra oomph.
Like if she could just play cigarette cases like Dexter, she'd be way better. If she could just play like something Agnes has like Lucky or something, you know. I feel like B is probably right. If you guys agree with that.
I mean, maybe that's like discounting the ability, the fact that she can like if she gets her thing out like two out of her 3 tests, you just don't draw the auto fail, right? Like ever.
I think an expert
So
she would
I
be at
think
least
she's
one
really-
tier up from where she is probably. Maybe.
I would,
But,
yeah,
like,
I might say A. like low A, but B's fine.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that for now then.
Yeah.
All right, Jenny Barnes, Dunwich
Jenny
Road.
Barnes.
People love her in solo, but we're
Yep.
talking like 3-4 player multiplayer.
Yep.
There's like an easy C for me, and honestly, you could talk me. You could talk me into F, but that feels mean. She does have a lot of money. Like there's
There's a lot more cards that let you do stuff with money. It's just like whenever I think of
feel like
Jenny,
you
it's like,
guys-
oh, I could play Preston and do even more stuff with money.
But that's
See,
the thing.
that's what
Like
you
you
can ask
guys,
yourself.
but she also starts with 3s and everything instead of
Yeah.
like 1 and everything, which is like I mean, I think she's. You guys aren't going to want to put Preston in F, right? So it's like, is she enough worse than Preston, or is she even worse than Preston that she should go in a lower tier than him?
I think she's definitely worse than Preston.
I agree.
I think in multiplayer, I think she's probably like a C. Like her ability is very
Yeah.
straightforward. Her deck building straightforward. She's just mostly the rogue card pool.
She's just
3s
built
and-
for solo. She's not built for
yeah,
multiplayer.
yeah. 3s and everything
duo.
means it's really hard for her to stack up to be like very efficient at something, which is what you kind of want. A lot of time multiplayer. Even as a hybrid in multiplayer, she's kind of because again, you have to build to be good at fighting or good at evading or good at cluing. You still have to build up that stat. So
Like on easy mode, like a group of new players playing on easy mode or something, I think she might be really fun and really fun even in a 4-player group. But like hard mode, I just forget about it. Like
I mean, the cool thing for standout for me is that she has access to adaptable and 5 off class anything, which is really cool, and it makes her really fun. She's got a lot of like cards that just came out recently for her that are kind of neat. Some interesting, cool decks that you can play with her, but like, I agree. Probably C.
If you're playing like an RP easy mode game, and I'm not saying that to like diminish it, she would probably be a really fun character. But from what we're talking about, I think a pretty easy C, right?
Yeah, let's put her in C.
Cool.
All right, next up is Jim.
I
had some recent experience with Jim.
Very campaign dependent, right? Like if you have 2 skulls is one thing, and if you have 3 skulls, it's maybe another thing, right?
Yeah,
that
swings him a bit. There's been a lot of cards recently that helped supported him, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, he kind of needs that. He's specific to a campaign. We're kind of looking at general overall goodness, right? And we're ranking people, and every time you put qualifications on it, it's like, oh, he's good in this situation only.
Yeah.
That's gonna bump him down a little bit.
So or he's good if you play all of these cards that cost money and basically do nothing except help you draw skulls.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean that can be good in like expert, right? You know, to help control the deck.
That's even good in hard mode.
That is true.
Like, the thing about Jim right now is that he has enough cards, and this didn't happen until recently, that he is pretty reliable at doing seeking stuff. He's not as versatile as the other mystics that we've seen because he doesn't have a 5 in his best stat, right? But he's really versatile. He can play to a lot of different strategies, and also like the fact that he just got Nkosi is huge. Like Nkosi and Olive, or either one, make his consistency for drawing skulls. He can keep an entire team healed by himself. He's so good right now, and that's not saying that he's like one of the best. That's just saying that he's a really solid investigator now.
I think if all the campaigns always had 3 skulls in the bag and no curse tokens or whatever, then I think we could at least have an argument about him being in B. I think with a lot of the campaigns having less than 2 skulls, I kind of think we have to put him in C. What do you guys think about that?
I always lean towards B, but if you want a hard pitch C, I'd keep on that.
I mean,
like,
is he
B too.
Really? I mean, like, you know, like how does he compare to Akachi? We're almost out of time. Should we use one of our bonus minutes?
Yeah,
let's do
it.
Let's use a bonus minute. Yeah.
Bonus minute.
Bonus minutes being used.
Bonus minute for Jim. Yeah, like I mean, compare him to like Akachi. I mean, what Akachi has going for her is a weakness that won't murder her, and she has 5 will, which is really key. And what Jim has is like, if the skull is really bad, he can pass tests a little more often, and he can play like the weird cards that do extra stuff if you draw a skull. You know.
I mean.
Yeah, totally.
If he manipulates the chaos bag a bit to make it so he draws skulls which are 0s, so maybe he doesn't need quite as high of a will test or a will stat. But
he doesn't.
But that's
he needs like spells to boost it, and he doesn't play like the normal spells to do so. Like he can play Azure Flame the most comfortably, and he can play Sixth Sense and reliably. And I just saw Harrison do this.
If you boost your will by
Get it
1, you
every
shift the
single time.
entire distribution curve by 1 space. If you make skulls good, it like that can be good in like expert, but that's worse when you're kind of like in a normal conditions, I think.
All right, we're out of time. I think C.
If you guys are both,
Dan's convinced me of C, unless Dan's convinced himself with B.
No, I'm still on C. Okay. If Ben says C, then it's.
I'm gonna put him in C. I mean, he's very fun, and you get to doot on his trumpet whenever you draw it, which is great. But
shout out to our friend Colin. C is for Colin.
C for Colin.
C for Colin. All right, I'm gonna reset my timer, and up next we got Joe Diamond.
Joe Diamond.
Hey, what's his color?
I see an orange element here.
Orange.
Joe's really good.
Really, really good.
I mean, I think it's like most of the Seekers are going to be an A or S. Like Harvey was kind of a special case where you had to debate it. For Joe, I'm not sure he belongs in the rarefied S tier just because like he's got 4 int instead of 5. He's got kind of this weird situation going on where like, I mean, if you build him as just like a pure Archaic Glyph Seeker, he'd probably be fairly good at that. But then it's like you should just play somebody else. So you should build him as more of a hybrid. But then there's other hybrids that are like at least. I don't know. What do you guys think about Joe?
He's got access to secret cards. What's his subclass?
Guardian.
Just Guardian.
Guardian 2.
0 to 2.
He's one of the best users of Practice Makes Perfect, right? Because he's got Overpower, Vicious Blow, Deduction, and Protection.
And he unlike Roland, he can play Pathfinder.
I mean, he's definitely good at fighting stuff and getting clues, but I think he's quite a bit weaker to the encounter deck compared to a lot of the other Seekers and other fighters. Like he has low will, low agility, so he needs support in those aspects. Either like he has to add cards to his deck to help heal if he fails encounter deck tests, or
like
he
Mandy, Amanda, Daisy all have like wards or denies or things like that they can do.
Exactly.
I would vote A, but I don't think S is totally out of the question. What do you guys think?
I'd say A too. I think if it's solo or duo, he's S. Easily.
Yeah, I think for 3-4 multiplayer, I definitely would not say S. I would say A. Probably lower A, but we're not doing that. Just A. That's where I'm putting him. A tier. All right. Cool. Up next, we have everybody's favorite old man, Larry Anderson.
Hey, there he is. Harrison's favorite.
Only the second Guardian that we've talked about, I think, after Danielle, right? Or Danielle's a survivor, isn't she? No, she's a Guardian. He's like pretty good. What's his weakness again?
He's proven himself time and time again. It just murders one of your allies or discards one from hand, I think. Which is not nearly as bad as Tommy's.
He's got kind of weird stats.
He's got like such solid. Well, he's got solid stats. He's got 4 will, 4
will, 4 combat, right?
But it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that he has the Rogue off class, but he has bad agility and he doesn't have a 5 combat, so it's like harder to trigger cigarette case. Kind of. I'm not saying he's bad. Just like
I think his Rogue off class is utilized to help pay for his legion of allies that he has to play.
And you don't have to take an action to play them.
Yeah, that's
right. He's got so much action economy. You can just play a beat cop for 3 with no action beginning your turn, even if you're engaged with something. Doesn't matter. Just
is he the best investigator for the like agency backup deck? Basically, he might be.
He's good for agency backup. He's good for sled dogs.
He's good for sled dogs.
Any ally focus deck, he's probably going to shine there.
He's good for sled dogs.
He's so good. He's just really solid. He also got the star. Like obviously you want the plus combat boost, but like you can take the star and have your allies just be huge. Like and you play them for no actions. I think that's the huge thing for Larry for me to say like he would be A, because he doesn't have to take an action to play any of his stuff and he gets the discount. He's been really solid in my experience.
He does have the bad agility, which is not great for encounter deck stuff, but if he has enough allies, he could probably soak most of the
I got you into this one.
I was going to say B, because I think he does kind of take some setup. You do kind of clog up your deck with a bunch of allies. Like, I was going to say B, just kind of like thinking of where the other Guardians are going to go, but what do you guys think? Case. It was not going to trigger very often.
He triggers
I'm between A and B. We're out of time. It sounds like Dane's saying A, Dan saying B.
I think Ben's the tiebreaker.
Ben, what do you think?
B. I'm gonna go B.
Okay.
No
B for
explanation.
popularity.
Next up is Lily. Lily Chen.
Lily Chen.
So here's the thing with Lily Chen. She can't play firearms, right? So that means that she has to rely on non-firearm stuff. And right now, there's a specific card in the game that I feel like is completely tilting the entire axis of weapons right now. But it also is just something that I'm never going to not play until they do something about it. So right now, my experience with Lily is that she's absolutely bonkers because she has a 9 when she's using a hammer base, which means she like wallops anything 2 rooms away.
Hang on. She does not have a 9 base. She has, once you get to like whatever her disciplines are, then she has kind of a 9 base. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But once you have your 2 hammers, you're at 10 XP anyway, and put another 5, and she's good to go. I don't know. Yeah, the Cyclopean hammer is bonkers.
It's crazy.
I'm sort of expecting it'll get tabooed in some aspect,
Yeah.
which I think will knock Lily down a bit. Because Lily's kind of a puzzle investigator, right? Because you like.
I really hope they don't taboo it until I get a chance to play it, because I really want to play that.
It's really dumb, Dan.
Before I saw how incredible the hammer was, I would have said Lily is like a lock for C tier. With hammer being as good as it is, I think that alone pushes her into B. I kind of don't want to put her in A unless you guys really want to.
I'd say B. She has wards. She's got denies.
Because if she's like if she's so dependent on that card, either that card could get tabooed or she could just not find it. She only gets 2 copies of it. You know,
well, she has bad wards, right? She doesn't have good wards.
Yeah.
I mean, she can like defend herself and hold herself, but it's tough because like her disciplines like make her a 5. Like if you just take the combat one, which I think is just objectively the right one to take, she's just a 5 combat, and that's really solid, right? We've seen that in Nat, and we've seen that in Mark, who are both guardians that we're going to be getting to. But like, she gets that. It's just her deck building is kind of weird.
Her deck building is weird, and as Batboy in chat mentioned, it's kind of weird that like she's got 4 different signatures, but it feels like there's like a straightforward path. Like, oh, this is the best path. To build her.
I'd be comfortable with a B.
Yeah, and even that. If they ban the hammer tomorrow, I think straight to C tier. But
yeah, she's definitely interesting to play and fun to deck build. But yeah. All right, B tier for Lily. Up next, we have
Lola. Hey,
Lola.
It's time, everybody.
So I mean, we always we joke that she's like the quintessential like F tier investigator. Devil's advocate, are we being too mean to Lola? Like, is Lola actually fun and cool in some way?
I mean, she's definitely. I think she's interesting and fun to play.
She is cool.
You have to have like very good like knowledge of the rules and understanding of the timing windows and stuff to like utilize her. And like understand how to like when to shift to which roles, how to balance your cards in your deck, so that they don't get nuked by her very bad weakness.
You bend over backwards to not have all your cards trashed by your weakness, and the reward for that is you get an investigator with bad stats, and you can access some weird card interactions that other investigators can't get.
It's like playing the professor in Netrunner. It's like you have to do so much extra ridiculous amounts of work to do stuff, and then sometimes it'll just fail. Like sometimes it'll just be like, oh, I have 3s and everything. Okay, I guess I just fail all these tests.
I mean, she like. In lower player counts, I think she can work as a good hybrid. In multiplayer, I think there's just better options for hybrids. But at the same time, multiplayer, you can be left a little bit more alone to do nonsense for a couple turns.
And if by better options, do you mean every other investigator in the game?
Listen,
is there?
Because that's what I mean.
Ken, what about the fact that her ability only turns off like activated things? Like if you just get a passive bonus from something from an asset, you still keep it, right?
Like she can rack up passive bonuses. There's a lot of permanents now she can get to give her lots of other passive things, or give her flexibility as she switches between stuff.
She's basically kind of like a worse Calvin at that point, where she can like eventually get very high stats, and then it doesn't have a lot to do with it, right?
I don't know if she's a worse Calvin.
I mean, she does have access to like a lot of cards, but
she has access to a lot of stuff.
We're all agreed on F, right? Okay.
F tier, moving on.
Yeah,
we could have used that too. I was just talk about something cool like.
I was trying to give her a fighting chance. We didn't just immediately trash her, so that we don't get too many very angry comments about it on on YouTube or whatever. But feel free to leave angry comments. It's fine.
Totally.
Dane won't cry too much. All right, next up, Luke.
Man, every time I see this investigator come out on the table, I just see more ridiculous bullshit that happens that I didn't know that could happen last time. I'm just like, you can do that with this investigator? This isn't fair. And
Right.
in equal amount, you just see like that you have to pull up like Luke log rule book, like, entry 318.1b subsection A. Like, I think Luke is ridiculously powerful, honestly. Like,
he has a great card pool. He has his stat line is not incredible. Like, you'd rather have 5 will probably, but it's not terrible by any means. And then on top of that, oh yeah, he can kind of just like cheese a surprising amount of stuff.
It's ridiculous the amount of stuff that he gets around.
Really fun kind of like challenge mode deck where you can do incredible stuff if you know the rules very well, and if you kind of know how the scenarios work. Like, he can be incredibly powerful. Are we just debating between A and S basically? Is that those are like the only two
I
options,
think
right?
so. I really think so.
Yeah, I think he's good. I don't know if he's quite S tier. I kind of think
you played Luke
so
more than us, I think, Ben. Right?
Yeah, I think he's good. You can do some nonsense to break some scenarios, but it's only sometimes. It's not like it doesn't work in all scenarios. It's usually ones that have like specific map restrictions or orientations. So, and he does have, as you said, he's 4/4 in his int and his will. So you have to kind of decide which way you're gonna lean or split a bit. Split it up.
5 health earths.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to understand how the as if rules work, which seem to change every time they release an FAQ, or anybody answers a question ever, which is very difficult.
I lean towards A because to me he's awesome in like 2-player, like slightly smaller groups. Like in 2-player, he and Gloria would switch places, I think. But in 4-player, say, or even 3-player, I would put him like in A probably.
I mean, his gate box is powerful.
I think so too.
I'm doing A for as if. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Up next we have Skids O'Toole.
Apparently, why is Skids at this point in the alphabetization?
I think I failed to alphabetize him correctly.
What's his real first name?
Well, it must be between Luke and Mandy. So
it's like Finnegan or something. Oh, that's definitely out there. Okay.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Well, anyway, Skids.
Man, Spirit of Alex.
Classic punching bag, like bad investigator. But a lot of cards have come out since anyone really took a hard look at Skids.
That's true.
It's just his stats in his card pool are not the best match, right? Like he has higher agility than combat, but then he has the Guardian cards, and on top of that, his weakness is pretty annoying. I think
well, his weakness is like you have to spend money to not lose experience or something, which is annoying.
Yep.
I mean, Harris and I just did Emira plays as double Skids.
How did that go, Ben?
I mean, we won. Technically.
Well, sure.
You won the scenario that's designed for Skids to play it.
Spoilers, I guess. Ignore that. Go watch the video. But yeah, he seemed kind of rough. The Peril version of him definitely seemed better than the regular version. But looking at regular version, I think he's still in a little bit of a rough place. He's definitely viable now, which I think initially he was like, it was like really painful to play as him.
No. Yeah. It was like there were like specific things that said like if you only have the core set, this is an investigator you don't play because you just can't do enough to like help you win those scenarios.
Bad Boy says Skids doesn't have an official name. I think that means we get to name it, right? That's how that works.
It's got a
Maury. I think his name is Maury. Oh no, that's not before Mandy. Dang it. All right, so yeah, but I think he's still like B or C. Leaning towards C, I think.
C, probably.
Like he can do big money stuff, but like even Jenny can do big money better than him, and Preston and a lot of the other rogues I think can benefit from it more. So
I think this is a straight up C.
Straight up C.
All right.
Yeah, like he's not like better than Diana, you know.
C it is. Up next we have
anyway
Monday.
Anyway,
Mandy Thompson.
Mandy Thompson.
Mandy.
Haven't.
Well,
I don't think it's gone before.
What's going on with this investigator? So, why don't you tell us a little bit about?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit just to make this interesting. Here's what I'll say about Mandy. She without Mr. Rook, she is pretty mediocre. She's like better than Harvey because her weakness won't kill her, but she's like in that tier of kind of like average seeker. Mr. Rook now costs 8 XP for 2 copies. So you're not even gonna get it until after the first, maybe second scenario. Probably not until after like the second scenario because you probably want like Pathfinders or something. And without Mr. Rook, she's not doing a whole lot. Her weakness is very annoying. The best case scenario is it annoys your teammates a lot, and the worst case scenario is you actually have to deal with it. I mean, Mandy's incredible. She's one of the best investigators in the game, but like, if you were trying to make an argument for A tier instead of S, like that's what you would try to say.
Sure. I mean, they keep having to taboo cards that she has access to, right? Like,
and see, what's great is it's like whack-a-mole because you just shift to a different subclass every time they do that.
And this is where my like unending disdain for this investigator comes from, is because of that. She had cards banned from other classes because she could play them. And I mean, like that also
really,
just goes into how ridiculous.
That's not totally her fault, really.
I'm entirely blaming her.
That's very silly.
I mean, it's partially because she has access to 3 different classes, right? She can take Rogue, Mystic, and...
Yeah, we should ban all the characters that have 3 classes, like Tony. Unfortunately, Tony would have to get banned because of that, so I hope that's okay with you, Dane.
Wait, no, but what's the other class that she could take? Survivor?
Survivor.
Everything but Guardian. Yeah. Dane, have you played Mandy ever? Or recently? I'm just curious.
I played her in a standalone once.
She's extremely fun.
I took a shower after.
She is almost as fun as Amanda to me, but she takes a lot longer and annoys the other people in your group. So, yeah,
it sounds like leaning towards S. Is she so high in S that she overflows into F?
if there was an S plus tier, she would be in it. But there's
Marie.
Oh, Marie.
Her ability is very appealing and seems very strong.
It's right. Her stat line is even pretty strong, like 4-4-1-2-1-3 or something.
She has a real weakness, like
had a Doom
designed in 2015 ass weakness, right? Like she has a real like core set quality.
Oh no, it's Baron.
It's just crippling.
Baron,
Baron. He's so bad, and he hurts the rest of the team while he's out.
So
that's
bad.
So
this
rough.
Is like foolishness levels of bad, right?
I mean,
yeah.
Her signature lets her avoid a Doom, which is alright. And she does fun Doom manipulation, but she has to, depending on the scenario, like how much can she activate her Doom powers or not really.
Man, I played one campaign with her because I was really excited. She actually has some pretty cool deck building stuff. She's got a lot. She's got sort of the Finn deck building, but she can also take like all spells, I think, or like all occults or something like that, 0 to 5. And so I was really excited because I like deck building. And the Forgotten Age, Return of the Forgotten Age, just turned into like Stella dragging Marie's body across it, and like Marie slowly accruing trauma until she eventually died and had everybody like murdered by Scenario 7 because she just couldn't. That's it. That's the end of the sentence.
I've never played her. I get grossed out by the characters that have like high will and intellect. Like Luke overcomes that, I think, but like it never seems like the right allocation. It never seems like the right allocation of stats, really, because it's kind of a waste to have both. But I don't know. I haven't played her. I've only ever seen her played a couple times. She doesn't seem very good to me. Is she like C or maybe B? Like, what do you guys think?
I would put her in D if there was a D tier. I would leave C or F up to you both.
I was leaning towards C.
Baron is really bad.
Her weakness is pretty bad. What's her card pool? It's mostly Mystic, right? With like some traded card.
A cult or something? Or
yeah, it's a cult.
And spells or something. I don't know. I say C. I think she has some unique use cases where she can be strong. But
it feels weird to me. I feel like it feels weird that you just look at her card that she's in C. But I guess I don't know. Baron is really bad. I guess.
Baron, it's terrible.
What's our next one?
I don't know. It's the Golden Boy. It's Mark. It's him. It's the boy himself.
So you're thinking B for Mark, Dan?
It's the human version of Bark Harrigan.
Right, B for Bark Harrigan.
Yeah, B for Bark Harrigan. I mean, Mark is the best combat investigator in the game by a lot.
It's yeah.
Easy S for Mark. Like his ability draws you 1,000,000 cards.
Thanks,
he has exactly the stat line that you would want. His ability, in addition to drawing you cards, also just lets you boost your stats whenever you need it. He has weirdly strategic access to like shortcut, which is incredible for him, and a couple other random cards like Act of Desperation that are really good.
Practice makes perfect. Like what?
His ability draws you like multiple cards per turn. Like that's yes please, right?
The thing about Mark and the risk involved with playing Mark is that you have to make sure that you're over like, what is it, 4 or 5 HP? It's like once you hit that, Sophie flips and things are kind of bad, but you could still just kind of dig yourself out of that fairly easily, right? Like
Yeah, he's extremely fun to play because you have extra stuff to worry about, but it's fun to do that. He fits really well into the kind of like good guardian of like some turns you go all out and you have to kill like 4 things, then other turns you kind of like heal and stock up and get ready for the next fight. He's incredible. He's like I said, he's like the best fighter by more than Mandy and Amanda are like the best clue getters. Like there's more of a gap there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think he's very strong. I think he's got a little bit of a skill cap on him, or not cap, but a skill difficulty, a learning curve on him to make sure you stay in the good health zone, because that is really critical. If you drop into the bad health zone,
it is also incredibly hilarious every time you draw shell shocked for the 4th time each game. It's like, oh, that didn't do anything again. It's hilarious. It's a fun little treat when you're playing Mark.
All right, so he is S tier. Up next, we have Sister Mary, another guardian.
Interesting. So these are being alphabetized by their real names, not by their kind of title.
Okay. Mark,
yes.
Mary.
I borrowed this tier maker. I think a fellow podcast, Archivist to Arkham, made this tier list, so I didn't have to. So they're heroes.
Okay. Thank you.
For real.
Yes, Archivist to Arkham.
Super huge shout out. Well, anyway, Sister Mary.
Our friend Colin played her recently in a game. The main drawback for her seems to be her low health when she's trying to be a fighter, and the fact that bless tokens maybe are arguably not that great.
Is her combat a 3 or a 4?
It's a 4. Oh wait, really? It's a 3?
I think it's a 3.
It's a 3.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Her will is a 4. Her
combat
is a 3.
Like the reason Colin struggled with her is because you have to build up her combat enough. Like she's supposed to like put bless tokens in and do stuff with bless tokens, and there's a couple good cards with that, like, but didn't they ban one of them? Or they tabooed one, like the best one?
Like she interests me more than a lot of the other bad characters. Like I think you could do a fun, janky bless token deck with her that would be interesting mechanically, but she's definitely in C tier, right? Like, can anyone argue for her being better than that?
I think she's in C tier.
Is there an argument to be made for F? Like, like she feels like she might be worse than some of I don't know, the other characters.
No, I don't think so.
Too.
I'd play her over Marie any day. I'd play her over Skids any day. Like I trust her in combat far more than I would trust a Skids, right?
She just seems pretty good to me.
She has a lot of ramp up time. She can do some fun stuff with blessed, but
I mean, she does.
Compared to other fighters, I think she's under them.
If you build a deck that can really turn bless tokens into powerful stuff, she does give you like more bless tokens than anyone else in the game. Just because she gives you 2 free ones every turn.
That's what Colin did when he played her. So he did do some fun bless token stuff.
Well, but did he ever get to like the spear and the Nephthys ally? Did he really go full on with it?
I thought he did, but I don't remember. It was.
I feel like we were playing as the packs came out, and those only came out in like the last pack, so we didn't really get a chance to see.
That was like pre-quarantine.
Yeah.
I would say C.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah. To answer Bat Boy's question, do you think she's better than Diana and Lily? I would say she's not better than Lily, but she's probably around, maybe a little worse than, maybe not as good as either of them.
I feel like she's probably worse than both of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah. Who's our next one?
Up next we have Monterey Jack.
Oh, who's this?
Oh,
the
it's
cheese
Monty.
Himself.
Yeah.
Oh, Monty. Oof. Well,
I haven't played
I would like to tell you folks something. Monty is the only good rogue in the game. How about that?
Wow.
How's that for a take? What do you guys think about that take?
He's incredibly good as a seeker multiplayer.
He's really
he's by far the best rogue in like this 4-player hard mode kind of.
Even better than Trish.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Come on. Like Trish is really good in like lower player counts, but like for 4-player,
I haven't played him either.
I played him in 2-player, and I saw you play on a 4-player, and he was incredible in both scenarios.
So. His ability is absurd. It is free cards and money virtually every turn for doing things that you either would do anyway or can easily do by activating Pathfinder for no reason. He can play archaic glyphs, which is a massive. You can't understate what a big thing that is in 4-player. He can play other amazing, really high level seeker cards. His weakness is really not that. His weakness is really not that bad. He can evade stuff if he needs to.
I don't even remember what his weakness is. Oh, he has to investigate once.
He has to investigate once. For one action.
It is annoying that he can only have 5 seeker cards level 0 because you really would love to have more than that for things like crack the case and whatever. But he is absolutely S tier. He's like
really?
he's up there with he is like, if he were a seeker, he would be like maybe not in the top 3, but he would be like really close.
Okay. See, so I was thinking, like, kind of to play devil's advocate. The issue with Monty that I found, just kind of like briefly deck building with him, was that 5 yellow card thing, where like he kind of might take a little bit more to ramp up. You don't get adaptable, which is a really great rogue card, but obviously get the whole seeker pool. So like eventually he becomes all yellow.
Yeah, like that's why like
reason,
if we had like an S+ tier for like Mandy and Amanda, he probably wouldn't make it in there, maybe, although even then I don't know. But like he's absolutely S tier. Like he is much better to have in your team than like Joe Diamond or Luke.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with S tier. I was leaning towards A, but
I mean, you saw that Edge of the Earth campaign.
Yeah, it was insane. So
disgusting.
Yeah. All right, Father Mateo.
Man, Father Mateo.
Oh,
Tim and I have a history of playing games in a world where investigators are consistently ravaged by the autofail. One man stands.
He can make that not happen once.
Yeah. He's
I
definitely
love
gotten
Father Mateo.
he definitely has gotten a lot more cards in his pool since the first came out because they put Blessed on a bunch of random stuff.
He is almost in the Calvin group of like, they just they're gonna keep printing cards for him until people start saying he's good. You know,
I mean,
no, him and Jim are the two that I was very surprised to see that they are way better than they were when they got printed. Because Mateo was F tier as far as I was concerned when he was printed, but now,
sure, but I
he's
mean,
got
like,
some help.
Like Daisy is also much better than when she was printed, right? Like everyone gets new cards. You know, like the fundamentals haven't changed that much.
I think he's still pretty low, especially compared to other Mystics, because his card pool is what, Mystics and Bless cards, right? He doesn't have an off class.
Yeah, Mystics up 0 to 5, Bless 0 to 3,
and he only has a 4 will.
So I think like there's no way he can be in like A tier, right? He has to be like, I would say C. Like, so for B, it's really? Like, is he on the tier with Jacqueline? That's what I'm asking. Jacqueline who has 5 willpower and a pretty good ability.
I think Mateo is one of the strongest investigators at dealing with the encounter deck. Like if you have like 3 different axes, right? If you have enemy management, clues, and like resilience to the encounter deck, he is one of the strongest by far.
But is he that much better than just any other Mystic that can play Ward 2?
He can play Ward 2 right out the gate.
Okay, so it's like one scenario you get a little fast. I don't know, man.
He's really strong now.
I think that is insane. Ben, what do you think?
I mean, I guess I haven't played him recently, but
yeah, because
he has more cards. What? I'm gonna give us an extra minute.
Yeah.
What specifically new cards have made it so that you think he's so much better?
Quickly.
So he beyond what's her face that we just reviewed, Bless Lady, is better than her at Bless tokens. Which is weird because she's the thing for that.
He doesn't get the payoffs. He doesn't have Holy Spear. He doesn't have Nephthys.
Aside from that, yes, he has Nephthys.
It's not gonna use
aside from that, he has like, what's the red encounter card, or the red card that just discards like Fate of All Fools and stuff from the board.
Alter Fate.
Yeah, he has Alter Fate. He has the Doom Management card. He has like, he's just got so much stuff. Like starting at 5 XP too is enough to put him like offset.
Those are all cards we usually don't even play. Like
those are cards that
we don't play.
Right, but like he specifically uses them like better than any other investigator generally can. He can like take it right off the bat. He can nullify so much stuff very fast for friends.
You're the tiebreaker, Ben. We're out of time. Yeah. What do you think?
I'd say B.
I think he's still in C. I think it's kind of a little more niche. I don't think it's at the levels of like manipulation that like it's nowhere near close to like Gloria's power at deck manipulation.
No, God, no.
I would put like an asterisk next to this. Like I want to know what Dane is talking about, because like Dane feels strongly about it and I don't see it, but like that makes me want to figure this out later.
At some point we can do a deep dive and revisit some of these guys that we made slowly.
Maybe we should do an episode where we like try to make a team of like 4 bad investigators and like see what we can do with them or something.
Oh, like we did the D team or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, who's next up?
Next up is Min.
Our girl, Minty Fan. You know,
So
I've had a weird relationship with Min.
yes, you have. You played Min in when we did Keeper's Nightmare a couple years ago.
I don't want to talk about that, Dan.
I mean,
so go ahead, Ben.
she's a seeker. She's a subclass survivor. But she's maybe a little bit more of a support seeker than other characters because she's supposed to be focused on like committing cards to stuff, but she has access to seeker cards which are good to commit things and survivor cards. I think the debate. I don't think she's definitely not an S tier seeker. A or B.
I'd say A.
Well,
I'd say
so
A.
I think the one she's most similar to of the ones we discussed is Harvey because she's very powerful, but she has a very bad weakness. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But so unlike Harvey, she also has 4 int instead of 5, but she has an off class, which is pretty good. And her weakness is a little bit less bad than Harvey. Like, I haven't played her in a long time. With all the stuff in the game now, can you like just pretty reliably get rid of her weakness when it comes out, or is it still like a huge pain in the ass?
That's the thing. I used to not like Min because there was a lot of difficulty with dealing with that weakness because the weakness was just so crippling. And there are just enough cards to where you can deal with it pretty reliably when it comes up. And the big thing that I've heard that might push her into S tier, I haven't played with her yet, so I'm hesitant to put her there, is Ice Pick. Ice Pick and Scavenging level 2 are this thing that I've heard kind of on the periphery, some friends who are playing it, is just busted because it's just constant deductions every single turn. So for that reason, I'd say A at least.
I kind of feel like she's better than Joe Diamond, maybe. But I feel like she's right on the border between A and S. I kind of want to put her in A just because we have fewer people in A, and S shouldn't be that heavy. But I could legit see it either way.
I would lean her more towards A. I think in some combos she can get up there, but I don't think she's as strong as like Amanda, Mandy, Daisy yet. So
no, but they're
I'd say pretty comfortable A.
Yeah.
A it is. All right, and now we got Nathaniel Cho.
It's our boy
Nathaniel
the boxer.
Cho. I've wanted to play Nathaniel for like since he came out. I still haven't done it, but he seems pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Designed by Jeremy Zwern.
Oh yeah,
Gotta be good.
He's a new take. Like when he came out, most Guardians were like, "Oh, you got to play weapons and focus and stuff." Well, he's like an event focused Guardian. And when he came out, like most of the cards he came out with were like very good for him. Specifically, they weren't very good for most other people, but because those cards are there to support him, I think he's very good. He's got 5 combat. He has good he has cards that help him draw faster. His blocking glove help him draw all of his other event cards that help him deal damage. He's definitely not like anywhere close to Mark, who can also draw a ton of cards while having 5 combat and use regular weapons. But I think he's like up in A tier.
But the limited card pool of the starter deck investigators doesn't hurt him as much as some of the other ones. The 5 combat is so huge, and there's only a couple characters in the game that have that, and it's such a huge difference from 4. Totally. I think it would be weird to have him in the same tier as Mark, so I want to put him in A. But like he seems really good.
When I think of Nat, I think he's the second best Guardian in the game, hands down. Like the rift between Mark and the rest of the Guardians is kind of bridged by only him, I think. Just because he's the only other investigator in the game where like if you're in a 4-player game and you get 3 enemies drawn, he can pretty confidently deal with that, all of it.
That sounds by himself. Right.
And like Mark can do that too. Not a lot of other investigators. Maybe Zoe could do that.
Are we all agreed on A then?
Yeah, I'd say solid A.
That sounds right.
I would almost push him to S, but yeah.
I don't think he's quite S, but I think he's definitely very good.
It just seems weird to have him in the same tier as Mark when there is a big gap between them.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like Mark is going to draw way more cards, but
we got Norman
Withers.
Yeah.
Oh man, narcolepsy. Hello.
I haven't played Norman. I feel like I've seen him be played a couple of times. He's hard to evaluate, right? Because he's basically a mystic. Mm-hmm. So he belongs maybe in more of that kind of like A to B range instead of like A to S kind of.
Yeah, I mean before his release in Edge of the Earth with all the cards that kind of came with it, I would think he's more like B just because he didn't have fair. He wasn't able to skill cards were kind of like hurt his ability a lot.
Yeah,
So you
his
couldn't.
signature was also like non-existent, right?
Yeah, his signature was kind of and his weakness. I don't remember. His weakness was like a horrible dog
It was a dog.
from another
Yeah, it
dimension.
was a dog.
His new weakness is kind of bad, but anybody can deal with it, I think. So it's just 2 actions to get rid of it. He can draw pretty efficiently, and he can save a lot of money with a lot of the cards he can do, and the stuff that lets him manipulate his deck more, basically for free, makes him pretty solid. I don't.
Stats are good too.
To me, he kind of seems like he's more on the same level as like the Jacqueline tier and Akashi versus like Agnes.
Yeah, I was leaning
So
more
that,
towards B tier for him. So,
but like, yeah, he feels like he's somewhere between those, and he's he might be better than like he's probably better than Akashi, but like probably worse than Agnes, kind of.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, I suspect that he's probably A tier, to be better than Akachi in a lot of ways. His like new signature and that Atlas.
mhm.
I know that there's a deck that a person
But-
Toast Mushroom on our Discord made. That's like one of the top decks that's been there for like 2 months. It's like a really, really good deck.
I kind of
He's
feel like
really
those
good.
new cards moved him from low B to very high B, kind of.
That's fair. Yeah,
That's what I was thinking. You okay with B, Dane? Was right out of time.
yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Next up, we got Patrice.
Patrice, this is going to be kind of hard to rank, I feel like.
It really is. I haven't played her in a while, but I played her through a campaign with you all.
So, tons of free card draw with a kind of a cost attached to it.
Yeah.
Weakness that's kind of annoying to deal with. Sort of good stat line that's kind of good for a survivor anyway. Sort of good card pool, but like you'd rather have probably more mystic cards maybe. I don't know. I've still never played her.
I think actually the only time I played her was in Keeper's Nightmare. I feel like I must have played her some other time.
I
But
played her in another campaign maybe.
yeah, I think she's all right. She's has an interesting ability. It makes you think about the cards in your deck more, but because you don't have necessarily like can't really hold them in your hand necessarily. So you want stuff that you can play quickly or find a way to make other uses of those cards. She can definitely pump up her stats a lot with cornered, which you're more likely to just throw away cards with her because you're going to lose them anyway.
She kind of just runs into like the problems where like no action compression, kind of like Calvin, no action compression, no movement power, like no way to become more efficient and use her clicks more efficiently.
I mean, there's some cards that you can play from discard pile and Survivor that can help her a little bit there, but I do think she struggles a bit to like get to the heights of some of the other investigators. I think she can do fine as like a hybrid leading towards clues, but
yeah.
She feels like a B to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I'd say that. I wouldn't put her in C. Like she's not like Skids level. Yeah. I think that she's like totally a B. And honestly, I have some friends who like just plays hard and love her and think that she's great.
She seems like kind of like a high skill cap B or high skill requirement.
I think so too.
I mean, she can pump her stats up really high, which is good and hard.
Yeah.
Her
kind
weakness,
of like this weird mark thing, right?
Weird mark thing. Yeah.
Yeah, where she can like pump her stat by 2 with cornered and get it pretty consistently.
Time is up, but it sounds like we all agreed on B.
Out of time. Sounds like we're okay with B. Ashcan Pete. Up next. Got a dog.
Yeah, where's Duke? Wait. This is a real investigator.
This is like a C, or I mean, I could maybe an F. I mean, again, with the caveat that he's pretty good in solo, probably.
Yeah.
But like, for multiplayer, he's just not optimized for multiplayer at all, right?
It's hard because he's relying on Duke to do a lot of his damage and or cluing, and it's a little bit awkward to buff Duke up. I mean, Duke can use ice picks and stuff now, but
like he has this incredible ability to get going right immediately when the game starts and immediately start doing stuff. But if he has to like pass a really high test, he's kind of bad at it. If he has to like efficiently get a bunch of clues in one turn, he's pretty bad at it. Like,
yeah, like
he's like a pretty good like solo standard character.
One of the best.
He's definitely good in solo, but 3-4 player, there's a lot more people can do better than him. They can ramp up.
Totally.
They can get to higher highs.
That's the thing. Like what Ben was saying, it's like, and I think that this is just kind of an issue with survivors in general, but with him specifically because he like his only pool is survivor other than the Dunwich 5, is that like they just can't get like in the later scenarios to the power level that other like classes, like even rogues now can get to, and like mystics can get there pretty reliably, you know. So like
Can you
it's tough.
are we like overlooking? Can you do enough nonsense with like Dark Horse and Fire Axe and stuff to do kind of like a playable build with him? Like what I'm thinking, he seems like maybe kind of on par with Jenny to me, but like worse than all the other C characters. Like
That's
he
where I
seems
put
like
him.
he seems like Jenny and Bob, where he's like the very bottom of C, or I could even be talked into putting him in F.
I don't think he's.
I'd say C.
Yeah, C is where I was at. I don't think he's
Like,
quite in the F
like,
tier.
I think he's like a lot worse than like Diana and Mateo and Jim.
Yeah.
This is just specifically 3 and 4 people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
totally agree.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
just,
we
like,
can.
he can carry his own weight, but that's about it.
C seems all right to me.
All right, we'll keep
Yeah.
him in C. All right, next up we have Preston.
The rich man, the richest guy, richest guy in the world.
He's hard. He's got a challenging deck build. You have to figure out how to get him lots of money and then actually use that money. I think his
Which
early
is, like-
game is a lot of setup, and then like late
Yes.
game he can be very powerful. Which to me puts him in like, the
But-
B-ish tier.
But even late
Yeah.
game, he can have like an extra action or two, which is nice. But like he's still kind of in that Calvin situation where like he can pass tests, but he
Yeah.
doesn't have any kind of like glyphs or rite of seeking style pick up a ton of clues at once. He doesn't really have any like quickly kill 4 things in one turn kind of power.
Has but he has a lot of money and he has access to a lot of like rogue events that do a lot of action compression, which
Yeah.
normally are harder to play because you have to have money to spend them. But like once he gets ramped up, he can very easily pass tests, and he can very easily like pop off intel reports or I can't remember the new pilfers.
But intel
and-
report is like 2 clues once, right? Like, and he can't draw enough. He can't draw enough to just like cycle these cards a million times, right?
He
like-
he can double stuff. He can. I guess he can.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought there was some other way he can cards. Resourceful, maybe, but
He has a double and scavenge for supplies.
scavenging.
like,
Yeah, search for supplies.
You can forever get things back.
But he has a lot of ramp up. So I
Yes.
think Dan
This
is
is the
maybe
thing.
advocating for C. Is that where you're leaning at? I think he's
like somewhere on the B to C border. Like I think he's a lot worse than Finn, but I think he's maybe like Patrice-ish level kind of.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He's my favorite investigator, and I would put him in C because if you don't start with Leo DeLuca in your hand,
oh yeah,
God, he feels horrible. And I think that's kind of like the definition of the C tier for me is that like if you don't start with exactly the things that you need, that's kind of like one of the dimensions of it anyway. It's just going to be rough.
Let's
And
add a
that's
bonus
exactly
minute.
Preston. Okay.
Bonus minute for Preston because he purchased it. I mean, like I think he has pretty high highs if you get set up and if you have the right stuff happening. But it's like, is that enough to negate the fact that he does have a lot of setup and kind of hoops he has to jump through? Like, yeah, I still kind of think C is right, but like Batboy in chat mentions like the kind of the new cards like the fan and black market. Like, I don't know. Can you just make a really crazy broken deck if you get like 50 XP and enough time to play a bunch of assets?
Yeah,
I haven't actually played him with a black fan yet, so I'm eager to do that.
I haven't seen him with the new stuff. One of my recent ish campaigns, someone played him. One of my friends who likes rogues, and it's felt like every scenario, the beginning half of the scenario, he couldn't do anything, and the later half of the scenario, he was very, very useful.
The later half of the scenario, he's like almost as good as Lily with a hammer, or like Jacqueline with all her spells out, right?
Yeah. So
I think I would still vote for C.
I think it's like it was a bigger jump than that. It was like because those guys can be like kind of useful out of the gate. Preston was like basically useless, and then he was extremely useful at the end. So he kind of evened out. That's why I was thinking B. But if you guys will say C, that's fine.
I vote C. What do you think, Dane?
Dane tiebreaker.
I'm always happy to put my favorite investigator in the game in the B tier.
All right, B for bias. All right,
okay,
moving on.
Fine. Yeah.
All right, Rex.
Quality.
B for black market.
It's Rex. I remember Rex.
The original S tier investigator.
Remember this guy's in the game?
Man, he was so incredible because he could get 2 clues every turn basically. He's been tabooed now, and I assume we're including taboo when we evaluate these guys. So,
so like even untabooed Rex, I think, is worse than most of the people we currently have in S. just because better investigators have come out.
I
And
think you have the best take on this, Dan, honestly.
I always have the best takes, Dane. That's just kind of what I do. Yeah, I would still put him in A. His ability is still good. He has you end up using most of his 5 flex cards for green cards usually, which works out great for him. His weakness is very, very, very annoying, but it doesn't actually ruin the game that much. It's just incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would put him A, and like it wouldn't be totally crazy to put him in S. Like I feel like lower player counts that getting 1 extra clue once per turn is a bigger deal. Like solo or 2 player, that's pretty good. 4 player, it's kind of like it doesn't make that much of a difference. But
what's his intellect?
That's surprising to hear.
4 or 5?
He has 4. If he had 5, I'd bump him up to S probably.
3, 4, 2, 3 or something like that. I think like he's even really good in the 3-person counts too, because like if you just commit a deduction and you get his ability, it's like that's the perfect sweet spot. But I do agree. I think in 4-player he might fall, like his ability might fall off just a little bit. I like his signature because it can draw you a bunch of cards and you can call it Clue Sun Zenith, which always makes me chuckle. But yeah, I mean, again, if he was 5-int or something, I'd probably still put him in S. But with 4-int, it's like he's kind of just barely in the A tier probably.
Yeah,
I'd say so too. Yeah, that's fair.
All right, A tier for Rex. All right, up next we have Rita.
Oh, Rita.
Has she gotten any better with the new card pool? Do you? I recall you playing Rita when she came out, and you were miserable the entire time.
Well, okay, so that was because PvEs wasn't restricted yet, and that was the only thing survivors could do because they didn't have any cards over level 3. Either way, though, yeah, no, she needs some help.
I mean,
I like playing her; she's fun, but
she really hits the survivor bingo of all the bad things about survivors, where she has a limited card pool where she basically can only use red cards. Her stat line prioritizes the stat that is kind of the worst one, and also doesn't really line up with her card pool very well because she can't even take a lot of the cards that you would want to play with 5 agility.
Oh man!
And her weakness is pretty annoying, and her signature I think is pretty bad. So it's like,
what's her ability? When she evades, she gets a free move or a damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
in my experience,
that's like pretty good in like solo or that can be good in like solo or duo maybe, but it's just not. It doesn't really do anything in higher player counts.
Yeah, it's rough. Like the thing like about Rita was that like when she was released, people were like, "Oh, this is the investigator to play as an alternative to a guardian," and that is not what she does. Don't ever do that.
You also, I always think about trying to play an ornate bow build with her because the high agility would be really good and it would be fun.
Just play Finn.
But she just doesn't have the actions. Like with the bow, you need like extra actions or you need
just
movement or action compression or something. Yeah, it's. Like I think she is worse than basically everybody in C tier. I would put her in F.
I would put her in F. Yeah, it's hard because she's neat. Like she has the weird thing where like like we were talking about like Mateo and Calvin get all these cards that are like
they're not printing Rita cards yet.
They don't print tricks.
She doesn't look terrible, but her card pool and her stat line is just slightly off. It doesn't mesh. What do you think, Ben?
Tricks are for kids.
I agree. She's in F. Eventually, maybe she'll get bumped out, but.
She has a better chance of being bumped out than Lola, I think.
I'm optimistic. She has a 5 in a stat, so
yeah, she does.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah.
That is true.
All right, Roland.
Roland.
Hey. Good old Roland.
He's fine.
I love Roland. I think he is like optimized for like smaller groups than this, but you can still definitely make quite a solid Roland deck.
Yeah, I mean, you witnessed Harrison playing him, right? In our playthrough, he picked up a decent amount of clues, murdered a decent amount of stuff. He's like a very just solid investigator. He's not like super exceptional by any means. I think that the thing that occurred to me when I played him when we were playing Return to Circle and Done was that like he can be very vulnerable to the encounter deck, which is definitely something that he doesn't have in his way. Even though the fact that he can like auto pick up clues is probably really good in expert, etc. It's just like he can be just very squishy. He's got only five sanity, so you really need some help with that. But Seeker cards and Guardian cards, really solid.
Ben, have you played Roland much in the last couple of years?
I mean, I played him in MMR plays with Harrison like a month or so ago. And he seemed all right. I was playing Barrel Roland, but watched Harrison play regular. I think he's very all right. I think he's a quintessential B tier investigator. Like
again,
he's
like,
good enough
really
that
good, really good in like 2-player or something. Right?
Yeah.
To me, like he's like on exactly the same level as like Finn and Larry Anderson and like those kind of investigators, kind of.
That's fair. Yeah, for like a 4-player game, I could see him struggling with like a lot of enemies because he doesn't have again the sanity cap to do it. His weakness is also really bad. If we're talking his book weakness, it's kind of fine, but yeah.
You took the book weakness when we tried doing a 2-player when we were Roland and Trish, and it was not exactly fine. I would say
it was really annoying. That's true. Yeah,
it was really incredibly annoying a lot of times. I was telling you should have gone for cover up, but yeah. Okay, so Roland is B tier, right? And we're out of time.
Very
B tier for Roland. Safina.
Oh, Seffi.
I feel like this one's going to be controversial, maybe.
Oh,
Dane loves Safina. Safina is one of Dane's 8 or 9 favorite investigators.
I like Safina, and I like her theme with like events and leaning into that. She has like 4 willpower, which is all right, but she doesn't have access to like the really good mystic cards to really play off that 4 willpower as much. So she kind of ends up having to lean into rogue cards to help her do stuff, which is okay. But I at best B tier, but I think she's probably more in C.
I'm thinking C. Like, I do like a lot of things about her. She just always seems clunky. One thing I would say, Dan, I want to give you time to talk about her because you like her so much, but you mentioned Mateo being like the strongest investigator against the encounter deck aside from Gloria, but Safina, just because she can Painted World warts, is also pretty good at that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think she's also a really good defensive investigator, but she falls under the issue of like not having consistent enough stuff to do when she's not doing that. Like Pilfer level 3 is a huge boon for her, right? Like when Winnie came out, she got a big boost to her power because she got a lot of really good like upgrades to cards that she really likes in general. But it's I've had a hard time just like building a deck and being like, I really want to play this investigator and do really well with it. That said, she's probably like a B investigator. We might be being a little too hard on her, but I just haven't played her in such a long time. I think that she, for me, I'd say like a high C.
I think it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to prioritize both will and agility with her, but it's also kind of hard to put enough cards in to just take one of those. You kind of have to do both, and it's very hard to keep them both high. High C sounds right to me.
I think she's more C. Again, my friend that plays rogues also likes her, but Preston performed better than her, so
it's rough because she's like way better than Jenny and Ashcan. They're like low C and she's like high C. Like if we had a D tier, but like that's how it is.
There's no D tier. We have to we made that decision. We have to live with it, and we have to move on to Silas.
Exactly.
Hey, here it is,
fighting around the world.
Is this your favorite investigator event? I feel like every time I've played with you recently, you've just played Silas.
I've played him a lot. I do like him a lot.
He's really good.
Mostly because he gets to do weird stuff with skill cards that I wouldn't otherwise use.
Silas rocks. You still haven't played Amanda, Ben. You gotta play Amanda.
Yeah.
I think I did. I think I played Amanda with friends, not really? Different friends.
I see.
She's very good.
Yeah.
Silas is fun. He's great at enemy management because he's got 4 and 4 for agility and combat. He's restricted mostly to the survivor pool except for his skill cards, but he has incredible draw because of those skill cards and because of his ability. I think I do plateau with him. I think I would reach a point where like I can't do any better and I have a lot of cards in my hand.
He has slightly limited weapon options. Like there's way more good red weapons than there were 2 years ago, but it's still a little bit limited.
And he doesn't have
Brand and Chainsaw or something.
Yeah, I usually end up going with Brand.
I guess he has Sledgehammer.
He does have Sledgehammer now.
Fire extinguisher level 3.
But he doesn't have too much access to action compression. Like his ability helps him draw cards, which is very good, because he can recur the skill cards that you just draw cards no matter what on. But they're all red cards that you're drawing.
He seems somewhere between like Larry is in B and Nat is in A. He seems somewhere between those, but I would nudge him towards A because he's very fun. He draws a ton of cards and he has the agility that makes him really good in like Forgotten Age and other campaigns where you have to evade.
And Innsmouth.
So I would probably say A, kind of like low A.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think he's generally pretty good. He does have the little willpower, but he also has access to Peter and a couple other survivor cards to make up for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I do think he's an A. Maybe I'm a little biased just because I like playing him.
If they tabooed you catastrophe, then he'd be like high A or medium A at least, right?
Well, they did taboo catastrophe.
I said they untabooed it.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's right. He was incredible when he had that, and so was York. But
yeah, A's pretty good for him. I think
we gotta.
Uniquely. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. We gotta move on. Yeah.
We agree. A, he's awesome. A for anchor. A for awesome. Stella.
I feel is this the one we're gonna have a big argument about? Like, I think she's a C in multiplayer.
I think she's fine. At lower player counts, she's better because she's a survivor. That's the case of all of them.
Totally.
She has ways to play off the failures where she can like kind of have 3 actions where she's boosted. But I couldn't argue that she's better than B. Because she has the same issue where she has a kind of mediocre stat line to start, and she has to get cards going to boost her up, and she doesn't have very much action compression. The way she's fun is like when you use that first action to fail to still do something useful, and then you have 3 actual actions.
Or you don't even have to use an action, like in the Mythos phase or whatever, right? You fail.
That's true. Yeah, you can also fail during. She is resilient to the encounter deck.
She just has like a pretty bad. She just has a pretty bad stat line. Like, how does she get clues reliably? Like she's just. I look at the tier and it's like I think she's a lot worse than Finn. I think she's a lot worse than Lily with the hammer. I think she's a lot worse than like Calvin even. You know.
I mean, she gets clues by failing with with like the lock picks or not or the keyring whatever or.
But that's limited uses though. Like
she doesn't. She's not really like. When I look at her, she's not a clue person. She's definitely more of a combat person. She's very similar to Silas in a way because she has that 4 in her feet, but she has access to chainsaw, which is kind of like a natural like fit for her, and the tiny gun. Those are like she interacts with those very uniquely, and that one skill card, live and learn, or not the skill card, the event card.
Yeah.
But her like I would say C or B is fine. But the fact that her signature is so ridiculous and she can constantly replay it with resourceful is it allows you to do some weird stuff with some really harsh encounters. So I'd say B.
Time's up, Dane. B. I was gonna say B. Unless you really want to pitch for a minute, Dan.
Let's use a bonus because we have 3 left, and we
right, let's do it. Bonus minute.
I think she's like Safina. I think she's a C. I think she's like a fun mechanically and a lot of like interesting to build decks for her, but just at the end of the day, like she's clunky. She's just not good at getting clues, and she's not really good at killing enemies. You know, like she's good at like failing a test and getting money from drawing thin. And then like if she has a, look what I found in play, she can get a couple clues, but then she plays that, and then what can she do afterwards? I think she's good. I would love to play her in like a standard mode, like 2-player game or something like that, but I just don't think she's good in this type of game.
I think she can be fine at combat, which is why I would lean more towards B. Because she has there are a bunch of weapons that synergize well with her ability. Most of the ones that came with her deck. So that's I still lean a little bit more towards B. Like I think she's better than Ashcan and Skids and Jenny, all the people we have in C tier. But
she's as good as Preston.
I think Preston we put low B. I think she's around low B.
Patrice. Like she's low B for me, maybe high
C. If you guys both think she's in B, then that's fine. I'm outvoted. That's okay.
All right. I think she's going in B then.
Yeah. All right.
I think what's interesting is I think so far we haven't ever had a disagreement that's bigger than like 1 tier difference. Like we're always like a tier of each other.
All right. Trish.
Well, Dan, you played her.
Trish is like A or S for 2-player. I think like she's like very very good in 2-player. Probably really good in solo too. I think she's still pretty good in 4-player, but it's just or 3. But like her ability is just like a little bit worse because getting 1 extra clue. I mean, I don't know. She's pretty good. Like she has a good card pool. She has access to enough secret cards to get some interesting stuff going. She like Finn, she has the 4 int and 4 agility, which is a good combo. So it's especially good in like Forgotten Age. Like baseline, I think she's like better than Finn. The question is like, is she enough better than Finn to be in a higher tier? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, when she came out, she felt like she was like a little bit better Finn in terms of getting clues, but she's a little bit less good to him in action compression, maybe, because his evade really can help him pop off and get stuff. But she
Yeah,
has to actually spend
that's true.
action. But I don't know. I think she's a little
Her
bit better than Finn.
her card pool's way better though.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I'd
it's
say
protection level 2s. Protection
I'd,
level 2s.
I'd say A for her. She's definitely nowhere near Monty. like we have Finn and then Trish and then Monty. So
Yeah, those are the 3, right?
yeah.
I feel like I would vote for B just because like so she's kind of a hybrid sort of, right? So like to be a hybrid and be an A tier, I think you have to be as good as like Joe Diamond or Agnes or Luke. And I think she's a little bit worse, but she's close. She's like somewhere near that A to B border. If you guys both think A, that's okay with me. I would just vote B.
That point, that's her weakness doesn't seem to do too much either. Her
Ah,
signature is
really?
also not
That's
that
not
great.
our experience.
I disagree a little bit. I mean, her
Remind
weakness
me what
is
our
like,
weaknesses.
you
It's
basically just have to hold any enemy weakness is a little bit annoying, and you, as long as you have a big agility card in your hand, you can commit. You're safe, but if you're not, you can be kind of stuck.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a little rough. Still, I'd probably put her in A. She's got.
Okay. If you guys both
cards.
vote A, that's fine with me. Ben,
Locking in A.
okay.
Moving on to Tommy.
Oh my God, T-Cliff. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, Tommy. Interesting.
Kind of like a middle of the road guardian, kind of. Four combat instead of 5.
Yeah.
Off class that's like sort of good. Signature that's like sort of good.
Yeah, I have really not liked Tommy for a very long time because I do love the Survivor Guardian pool together, and Yorick just fits that so much better than him. But Tommy just got the star, which I think is like very, very important for him now because it makes like it just distorts the math on how good his ability can be in a really good way. That said, he still has trouble drawing cards.
See,
like he can't do as well as other guardians.
The thing is, Dane, like the star is really good for him, but I don't think it even matters because I think you absolutely need the Ace of Swords. Like if he has 4 combat, like you just absolutely need Ace of Swords.
I would never play it in him. I would always take the star.
You can like if you go towards like building up Becky or whatever, you can just stack up Becky to make up for not having the +1 combat.
Yeah,
and you can have the money engine / ammo engine from having the boosted allies with the stars pretty alright. I mean, my experience when I played him, which was a while ago, was he struggled compared to the other guardians. So I think the star definitely helps him a lot, and some other cards have helped him a lot, but I don't think he's definitely not above B. And I don't even know if that takes him out of C.
Compare him to Daniela. He has like worse stats, a better card pool, probably a worse ability, but it's also kind of like less of a play around your entire deck rounded ability. I think he's like maybe roughly there with Daniela, like lower highs and higher lows. So I'm fine putting him kind of like low-ish B.
Yeah. I would say he's better than Daniela in my personal experience, just because I want to play Guardian cards. I want to play level 2 Vicious Blows. I want to play level 2 Overpowers.
Beat Cop 2 is incredible. He can play Beat Cop 2 and Bandages, which is a great combo.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. B for Bandages. All right. So, I'm fine with B. All right, we got Tony.
Second favorite investigator in the game.
Yeah.
Love him.
So he's like a combat guy, right? Like you can do kind of like a hybrid Tony. You can't really do like a full-on clues Tony.
5 in combat.
No, he's definitely a murder machine. Good. He's got 2 guns in his picture, so you know.
He's got 2 guns in his deck.
Bang bang.
Yeah.
Bang bang Tony. So he seems pretty good, but like so he's not like Mark level. He's not going to be an S tier, right?
No.
I mean, is he on the kind of like Nathaniel and Silas level, or is he on more of like the Lily Chen, Leo Anderson kind of level? What do you guys think?
I feel like he's more.
What do you think, Ben?
I think he's more A tier with Silas and Nathaniel. He has 5 combat. He can make use of his rogue nonsense to do extra actions to shoot a bunch of stuff or to do extra damage with his bounties. And he has a lot of selection for his off class that can give him some extra cards that help boost him.
Like, does the rogue extra action stuff like make up for the fact that he doesn't have, like Beat Cop 2, Vicious Blow 2, the kind of like basic blue tools that somebody like Nathaniel has?
It's not that he has access to like quick thinking and stuff. It's just that it's written on his investigator card that when something comes out, you can just opt to get an extra action to deal with it. And that has helped so many times. Even if it's just like an annoying bird, like you just get an extra action to engage it. which is so huge. And I think if he had a 4 in combat, he would be way worse. But like the
Definitely,
fact that he's a
yeah.
5 in combat and he can take up to 10 guardian cards, right? Like obviously they're really good.
He is pretty
he's
vulnerable to
just,
the encounter deck.
that's the thing. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. I guess we don't have too much time left, but Mark also has a 5 in his sanity. And
Yeah.
like Tony, it's definitely an issue. And his weaknesses can be really bad sometimes. But I wouldn't put him in a tier with Tommy.
Bonus minute?
I would put him in A.
I would also put him in A. Dan, would you put him?
I would vote B, but A is fine with me.
All right. Unless you want the bonus minute. No. All
That's
right.
fine.
All right. Ursula.
Ursula Downs. One of Dane's other favorite investigators.
Yeah.
Well, she used to
I
be.
like Ursula.
Also a way worse version of Monterey Jack.
Yeah.
She's very fun. Yeah, man. Wow. How the mighty have fallen.
She's cool, she's fun.
No, she's great. She's a seeker. She's fun. She's fast.
A 4-in seeker, but still a seeker, you know.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question: is she the worst seeker, or is she A tier?
No, that's Harvey.
I'd probably rather play her than Harvey, even though she's.
Oh God, I would play anything more than Harvey.
I would. Then by default, she's an A tier, right? Because we didn't put any seekers below A tier. So,
she belongs in A tier. Like the thing is, a extremely generic seeker with just the seeker card pool and relatively high int should be an A tier unless there's something absolutely horrible about them, right?
Yeah. She got a lot of cool cards too in End of the Earth. She got Janae. She got the little shoes that she can scoot around with, right? Like and those are specifically, I think, good in her. Whereas, and maybe Monty too. But like, you know, just don't ever play Norman. I mean, not Norman, Harvey.
I think her, like a lot of these characters, she's maybe a little bit better in like a 2-player game because the extra investigate matters a lot more there. Whereas in 4-player, you're probably either doing glyph spam or like deduction level 2 spam. But she's an A. She's a seeker that doesn't have any massive problems. Her weakness is a little annoying, but yeah.
It is, yeah. It's definitely annoying.
All right.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's what we're with A. Windy Adams.
The orphan herself.
Another character who's definitely better in lower player counts, I think. Mm-hmm. But I do like Wendy a lot. Crippling weakness or very annoying weakness, but extremely good ability. Pretty good stats, pretty good card
best ability in the game? Question mark?
It's pretty good. I would love a Wendy novella that replaces her weakness very, very much because her signature also, not that great.
I mean, Dan hates her signature.
We'll talk about it.
All right, but
sorry, what's that, Dan?
Well, she just got a parallel version, and we can talk about that later. But
but the thing is, I don't want to replace her ability. I want to replace her signature cards. Is the thing.
That's fair.
I feel like she's like a B probably, just because she's like a decent hybrid in 4-player. In like 2-player, I'd probably put her at like A or something. But like, she's like a pretty but she's way worse than like Agnes or Luke, right? Or Joe Diamond. Like she's not on that level. No, she's not.
I'm so surprised.
The thing is, she has really good defensive stats. Like she just needs a lot of cards happening to be able to get clues or deal with enemies, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I ran her through the Forgotten Age kind of by myself, and I did struggle a little bit to get clues. That was admittedly before Pilfer and stuff like that, but even still, she's what, rogue level 0 to 2, so
yeah, I like her a lot, and she's one of my favorites to do in like a 2-player game or something, you know.
I would vouch for her to be an A, just because she like I was saying about Mateo, is very resilient to the encounter deck. Like I don't know if a Wendy has ever had anything resolved that they didn't want to.
She's always right on the verge of like they'll print some card that would actually let her reliably get lots of clues, but then that still doesn't exist, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ben, what do you think? And you can use a bonus minute if you want, because we have 2 left.
Sure, let's bonus minute. Yeah, I mean, I think she's solid. I am debating between A and B.
Have you played her recently?
Not recently, but she does have access to 0 to 2 rogue, which can help her get clues. Like she can just do lockpicks and get clues pretty fast. But I guess she has the issue where she doesn't have action compression. But she could get Leo to help her give her extra actions. they have been adding a lot more clue cards to Survivor that she could make use of, as well as Rogue. And her ability is definitely one of the better abilities in the game in terms of helping you pass tests. I think it doesn't help you with action question like some of the Seeker and stuff, but
I just kind of think that unless she's also worse on hard mode just because she can't trigger cigarette case. Well, but she's also her ability is kind of better on hard mode though. I just think she's worse than like Ursula, Agnes. She's worse than basically all the characters in A. I think.
I'm fine with putting her. I'm fine with putting her in B. She'd be like a high B, I think.
All right, yeah, we're putting her in B.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to come out the gate and say yes.
No, not in 4-player. I mean,
Wow.
Look, there's not a lot of non-seekers in the S tier, Dane. That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. She's a survivor.
Three investigators left.
I'm sure someone can pitch why she's S in 4-player.
I like how the distribution is looking kind of like bell curve-ish. Like I think we're kind of doing a good job.
That one's doing okay.
Yeah,
Yorick.
William Yorick.
Oh man.
He was incredible.
Most fun.
That deck you were playing, Dane, that William Yorick deck you were playing with like all the items and stuff seemed really, really fun. You got sick of it really
I didn't even
fast,
have Ice Pick in my deck. And that is a critical mistake. Ice Pick makes him ridiculous now. I watched him being played, and he weirdly has this ability to deal with like 2 or 3 enemies on the board by himself. And that's not something I ever thought he'd be able to do.
So he's like Silas in that he's like a 4 combat non-guardian fighter. Unlike Silas, he has that level 0 to 2 guardian, which is essential because that includes beat cop and upgraded beat cop and upgraded vicious blow. Also, his ability is pretty strong. Bury them deep is pretty great to have. His weakness is a little annoying.
No, it's negligible.
I don't even remember what his weakness is.
They trigger his ability.
Yeah, you kill him and trigger his ability.
They're dead.
Yeah,
they're dead.
But if they come at a bad time, it could be bad. But
he seems like a fairly solid like A to me. Like I could see the argument. I kind of think he's like maybe roughly where Tony is. Like I don't know. I maybe would have put
100%
him.
Agree.
Yeah, you could talk me into like really high B, but I'm fine putting him as like kind of lowish A.
He's an A.
He's like slowly creeping towards S, but
he's pretty cool.
He was
so nice.
When he could do occur, you could catastrophe like every turn. Before it got tabooed.
When you could do that,
very
pretty
insane.
solid A, I think.
And they nerfed that, but lockpicks or not lockpicks. Ice pick being able to recur that for action compression is very good, and he has a good card
unreal.
Pool. And he already had like
you don't
a lot
have
of good
to
options.
You don't have to use actions to play your things. Like you have short supply, and then you just like throw your stuff in the bin, murder things, get them out.
He did weirdly get several really key cards in Edge of the Earth. So
yes.
All right,
really solid.
2 left.
Winifred,
Winnie,
a woman without
one of my
fear.
other favorite investigators.
I have not been very impressed with Winnie in multiplayer. I've tried playing her several times because she is fun. I like her, just wants to constantly commit cards to draw more cards, kind of ability. And she has access to some card because she's committing so many skill cards. She can use the more lackluster rogue cards that do action compression, like the guns or lockpicks or whatever, and still pass the tests. But I don't know. I find that she still doesn't quite ramp up as much as I am expecting her to whenever I play her.
There's definitely, she's kind of like Rita in that she has like 5 agility, which is kind of the worst stat, and she's like a limited card pool. But unlike Winnie, her card pool and her stat line are kind of aligned a lot better because the green card pool is better for agility, and her ability is much, much better than Rita's.
Yeah. She reliably draws through her deck every game.
I think she's pretty cool. I just think that she's about as good as a green only agility highest stat investigator possibly can be, which is like B tier.
That's where I think she's one towards.
Of the best. I would strongly vouch for A, and that's just because she okay. So here's the thing: in 2 and 3 player, I think she's A hands down. 4 player, I don't know because Pilfer falls off, right? Like she doesn't have. She's got lockpicks, and that's it.
Dane,
but I think that the remedy to that is really depends on who she's playing with, because copycat with like somebody who's playing like a bunch of practice stuff, like deduction level 2s, vicious blow level 2s, she can be that copycat, and like I still am waiting for the day that somebody takes, you know, like a Joe Diamond deck, and I can play with copycat to its fullest extent.
Let's
Because I
use
think
our
that she will be very, very
let's
good.
use our last bonus minute here. Dane,
That's fair.
when we did our 3-player Hardboat Innsmouth in Minnesota, if you had played the like pilfer spam copycat spam deck that I suggested and you just blazed everywhere and got a million clues, you probably could have talked me into A for this. And definitely for 3-player, I think that's like in play. But instead, you play like a million assets and complain that Mandy was too good. And
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do.
I think you missed your chance to sell me on Winnie being a great investigator. She seems
Fine.
very good.
Right.
I feel like
He's very good.
I feel like 3 or 4 player pretty high B, and then like maybe lower counts, maybe higher. Like she seems pretty cool. If she gets a couple more cards, it could be like a couple more great skill cards could be huge for her.
I think she's really, really solid. I would vouch for A, but I understand B.
Ben, are you?
I,
What do you
I
think?
think I think she'd be in high B, so I'm going to put her in B. I know, and I think lower player counts she shines even better than in, but 4-player B.
That sounds right.
Send your angry mail directed to Dan and Ben for putting Winnie in B.
Hey, we put her in pretty high.
Angry
pretty
mail.
high B.
Also accept comments on YouTube or on Reddit or whatever. You know,
I don't even think this is the thing that people would be most mad about. Like, okay, once we're done with this, we have to answer the question: which of these rankings will people be most mad about?
That'll be with our last bonus minute because we're on to Zoe, right?
We just used our last bonus minute.
Tell us which of us you want to murder and which of the investigators is why. Okay, so Zoe.
Zoe. I mean, I love Zoe's flavor, but purely from like analysis here that we're trying to do. I mean, she's not as good as Mark. She only has a 4 in combat, so she has to buff that up a little bit in order to match Nathaniel. People are gonna be mad about Diana. I think everyone loves her. But yeah, she might be B tier. I don't know. She has just the Guardian pool with a couple splash cards.
Yeah.
I like her a lot, but she has a 4 combat. She gets a lot of money from her abilities.
Ben, do you remember what we talked about when we talked about Lily Chen?
Oh yeah, she does have access.
We put Lily in. We basically bumped Lily from C to B just because of the hammer.
You're right.
Zoe is an even better. I think she does an A just because of the hammer.
I forgot about the hammer.
She's indisputably the best Greenlands.
But Dan,
right?
the hammer is not a bladed weapon. It's nowhere close to a knife. But I guess you can use. I guess you use a hammer to like pound on different types of food, right?
That is so funny.
I guess
she can smite people with it. That's what God does. Look, she weirdly, I think, is like she makes the best use of the 5 off-class cards of all the Dunwich people because it just feels like she can grab like wards or a couple of other like shortcuts. You can grab shortcuts in her, and yeah, the 4 combat is like you'd want it to be 5, but 4 will is so good for like circle undone and other things. Yes. I think she's really good.
And
I think
never has to worry about money.
Like
she is like one of the rare guardians that can just take anything she wants.
I haven't played Nathaniel yet, but I feel like she's better at being a fighter than like Tony or Silas probably, or at least she's up there like with Silas. Like she's not as good as Mark, but I think she's like right in that second tier.
Yeah. I'd say she's like, when I think of like the best monster handler like combat person, it's Mark, Nathaniel, then Zoe right there. Like
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Zoe's really strong.
Maybe I was just trying to counter my bias by being too hard on her. I'm fine with her being an A tier, you know.
Okay. So
I think she's a solid A.
So we have now completed our tier ranking, and I generally like how these are distributed where like B is the biggest and then it kind of tapers off a little bit. Before we read out the results, are there any like we absolutely have to like bump things around or switch anything around?
I mean, Chat's been talking.
The chat really wants us to buff Diana.
We've been here for like
Diana,
almost 2 hours.
Yeah, are the 3. So if we just revisit them really quickly, how do we feel about them? I honestly think Wendy's A. I think that she can handle herself. I think she's totally fine.
Have you played Wendy in a 4-player game or tried to play Wendy in a 4-player game?
Was there? I think I played her in a 3-player game. And she was totally fine.
I love Wendy. I've played her a lot. You just often end up being like, well, my stats are pretty good, but they're not good enough to just investigate things, and I can't ever fight stuff. I can only evade things. Like you're just kind of like you're worse than Finn is the thing, right?
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I love Wendy too. She's
great. I really like her.
I'm taken aback. She's like one of Dan's 3 investigators.
I have like 6 or 7 at least.
That's
But you notice, I mean, like, you notice I mostly player in like 2-player or something, or 3-player.
That's true.
I'm fine with Wendy where she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Stella?
I think Stella. I don't know.
The only ones that I want to move are ones where like we kind of did a vote and you guys outvoted me, and that seems fine. We're probably not gonna like,
Yeah, I mean, those are characters. Someone mentioned in the chat. Those are characters that people like a lot and enjoy play. And if your favorite character isn't ranked S, then you might be sad about it. But like, we're not saying most of these people. We're not even saying are bad. We're just trying to we're trying to compare them against each other.
If I could just unilaterally make one change to this list, it would be move Stella to C tier. And if I could, that's the only one I kind of want to do, and I know you guys don't want to do that.
So
I think she's fine.
It's
like B tier is fine.
Yeah, these 3 investigators specifically, like their usefulness, like at like 1-player, 2-player, super strong, A tier somewhere in there. As it goes down to like 3 players, goes down a tier. 4 players is really not where like Stella wants to be. I'm thinking anyway.
They're just not.
But I think that's fine. D is kind of fine for Stella. And then finally Diana.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love Diana. It was so long ago that we ranked her because she's a D. Starts with a D is an hour and a half ago.
Honestly, for me, like Diana is closer to being like a low B tier than Stella is. Like I would rather have Stella in C and Diana in B probably.
Yeah,
I'm kind of fine with that.
Well, but
I think Cascon stuff is better than
controversial last minute swap Stella and Diana.
I don't really care that much. I'm not like advocating for that. I'm just saying.
I think Diana is solid. Like I think you guys are
so
more towards C. Oh, who knows what I said an hour and a half ago? But she is just focused around
Diana 1 tier. Just because I haven't played her in a while, and I know a lot of people think that she's really, really strong, in hard mode even. So
I mean, she is forced to play counter effects. Some of them do help a lot, and they help her. Yeah. She gets money and cards whenever she does it. And a weakness, she has basically no weakness, right? Because she just denies existence. Wait a second. She could take the hammer. All right.
Are we swapping those 2? I'm down for it.
Let's swap them. Yeah. Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do love Stella, but like in 4-player, I don't really want to be playing Stella. In 2-player,
yeah, exactly. Okay. So right. Any other changes, or should we go ahead and read the list?
You want me to blast through this list?
Let's read it from the bottom up. That'll be more fun.
Bottom up. All right. So these are the tiers. The tiers are not ordered within themselves. They're just roughly ordered alphabetically. So we have an F tier. These are investigators that we think are pretty hard to get to contribute to the group, which is Lola and Rita. Probably no one's surprised if they listen to this podcast that those are opinions. Yeah. And again, this is 4-player, multiplayer, standard or hard.
Taboo.
With taboo and all that. And then C, we got Bob, Jenny, Jim, Skids, Marie, Sister Mary, Sister Mary, Mateo. I was like, why is Diana there again? And it's different. The one's looking to the left, one's looking to the right. They both have curly hair and basically the same outfit. Anyway, Mateo, Ashcan, Pete, Safita, and Stella. B tier, we got Akachi, Calvin, Carolyn, Diana, Finn, Jacqueline, Larry, or some people call him Leo. I don't know why. Lily, Normand, Patrice.
I really enjoy how Ben always says Normand with a D at the end.
That's the New England way of pronouncing that, I think.
My grandfather was a New England
Normand. Patrice, Preston, Roland. He does have a D at the end. Tommy, Wendy, Winterfred, and Diana recently promoted due to access to extremely good hammer. A tier, these are people that are generally very good and are usually contributing to the group pretty well. Agnes, Dexter. Why do we put Harvey in A again?
I think that's the funniest. That's the funniest choice we made. He was A basically just because he's a seeker.
Joe, Luke, Min, Nathaniel, Rex, Silas, Trish, Tony, Ursula, York, and Zoe. And then S tier, Cream of the Crop, people that we think are always incredible, maybe probably overpowered. Not all of them are seekers even. Amanda, Daisy, Gloria, Mandy, Mark, and Monterey Jack. I don't know. Yeah, pretty even in distribution. Maybe a couple of controversial picks just because of fan bias, or just we haven't played them enough. Who knows?
A couple of quick facts. All seekers are in A or S tier, and there are no seekers or guardians in C tier.
Is that
Hey.
true?
And I think there's a mystic in all 5 tiers except for F.
Oh,
Which
it's
is
a little mystic.
that all feels basically right. I think there might be a rogue in all 5 tiers
Honestly,
as well.
I would be okay with Marie being an F. That's just because I don't like Marie. But
yeah,
no, yeah.
Pretty even distribution, and obviously this is the definitive list. No one can question it at this point. You're welcome to if you agree with something or think we missed something, you always shoot us a comment on this YouTube video or however you comment on podcasts. I don't know.
just shout it. Just walk outside of your house and just shout it at the sky. We'll hear you somehow.
Ooh, Lord Batboy says Sister Mary's in C and she can take the hammer.
Yeah, she has 5 health though.
Yeah, and she has a 3 combat and like 4 will.
She
right?
does have 5 health. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
she's a base 7. Little weaker.
No.
I mean,
she can't hold she can't hold the hammer. She's busy holding a candle in one hand. So.
I think the hammer bumps her from like low C to like medium C kind of. Something.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Yeah. You know who can also take the hammer? Gloria.
she's pretty bad at it though. Yeah,
she's not.
That's the funny thing. She's only like one. She's only 1 point worse with it than Sister Mary is, even though she's like 100 years old.
When I played Gloria,
she's equal.
When I played Gloria, when I played Gloria in Circle of Dud, I thought really hard about it near the end of the game. I was like, I don't have anything else to spend experience on. Gloria just turns off the entire encounter deck. Should I also get a hammer so she can also kill enemies?
Yes,
it would be the visual is so funny.
Yeah.
Gloria can take vicious blow.
Only the level 0 version.
Yeah.
Love it.
Man.
Love it.
It's very funny.
Well, we should probably wrap up because this has already been like our longest episode ever, but it was definitely fun. I had a good time.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight in stream and all of you listening to the podcast or just over on YouTube. Just a couple of bits of news before we do sign off. Next Friday, February 25th at 5:30 Eastern Time, Ben and Harris are going to be playing through Bad Blood is the next one.
Double Agnes.
Continue. Double Agnes, the MUR Plays series. So for folks who haven't checked it out yet, Ben and Harrison are going to be going through each Parallel Investigator's unique side story with the original version of the Investigator and the parallel version of the Investigator. Kind of side by side, doing whatever those 2 investigators do. So that's the only news we have right now.
No, we actually have one other additional piece of news that's really important. So tomorrow, February 18th, is an important day because a product that a lot of us are really excited about called Kamigawa Neon Dynasty is going to be released. You know that we're big fans of a game called Magic the Gathering. This is definitely going to be like the best cyberpunk themed card game that any of us is playing.
I assume this was a Netrunner release. Is this
are they using
the Netrunner IP in Magic
or a replacement to Netrunner? It's kind of like the replacement for Netrunner. It's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
But
who stole Dan?
Is this product existing? The reason Netrunner no longer exists, though.
Well, yes. It basically is, or at least that's like the conspiracy brain theory that I definitely believe.
Yes.
So I just want to urge all of our listeners to get to your local game store, buy as many packs of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty as you can. This little company called Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, they could really use your support in these tough times. Show them some love and just get yourself all loaded up with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
Well, which of the investigators do you all agree with? When is Mandy going to be banned? These are questions that need to be asked. Let us know who your favorite investigators are, and tell us what you've been doing with the new Edge of the Earth cards. Send your angry, Winnie-centric mail to comments@mur.fm. To stay current with what we're doing, follow us on social networks, including Instagram and Twitch, or join our Discord server. You can find the links to all these at social.mur.fm. And if you really enjoy what we do and want to get more involved, you can become one of our patrons at patreon.com/Miskatonic University Radio. Or just leave us a nice review on your favorite podcast source. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
But for real though, Nitrous in chat, hammer Mark.
Also,
Like,
if
he
you're
needs
really
it.
if you're really mad about our tier list, for anyone who signs up to the new $50 a month tier of our patron is allowed to move any investigator anywhere they want on this list. So if you're really mad that we put Diana too low or something like that, just give us a bunch of money and we'll do whatever you want.
Oh, jeez.
Somebody stole Dan, and we need to find where the original Dan went.
I need to buy a lot of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cards. Dan.
No!
It's gonna be really expensive.
Ben, stop the stream!
I feel like Bad Boy has a good point, though. Mandy can't take the hammer. Does that mean she goes down a tier?
We should have just done 2 tiers: hammer and can't take the hammer.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
But Mandy can take pendant, which they unnerfed in the last taboo to be easier to recur.
No, I think it should have been like, can you take either the hammer or archaic glyphs, or can't you? And those are like the 2 tiers.
Yeah, that's about fair.
All right, I'm stopping the stream. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
See you, folks.